And away we go, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. The Rob Brown Show is on your radio. This is a box of donuts. I think. Donuts? Chris Evans, Captain America down the hall? Did you just roll up in here? Where did these come from?
I believe this is from a listener.
Really?
It is a Grubhub delivery from Stephen W.
Steven heard me say on Wednesday, I'm having a great health week. I've been eating healthy. In fairness, I tanked it yesterday because it was an open bar, but I don't care.
Yeah, those sliders. Every time I saw you, you had one. Yeah,
I had 4.
Yeah, every time
sliders.
I saw you. So if this is the Steven I think it is.
It 100%
It is. That's hilarious, Steven.
Showing up with a happy donut day in the stream. Thanks, buddy.
And
Thank you very much.
And thanks for Chris for getting them before other people did.
Also correct.
Is there any missing?
No, I thought about that.
Well, you could. I mean, you could have.
I know I could have.
Delivery fee.
Duck donuts, warm, delicious, and made to order.
And they are. I mean, the box is warm. It is hot.
Zoe, I'm not saying I'm putting dibs on the one with bacon on it, but I am.
But there's only one.
Well, the one I
will split it with you because I'm a
no,
kiddo.
I don't need the bacon one. I just the one with chocolate though. I'm.
There's like 6 of them that are chocolate.
Dude, it's pushed up against the board. I can only see the first 3.
Let's put it on the camera.
You absolutely can.
I'm gonna bring it around here.
Steven.
Yeah, put it over the board because that makes more sense. Engineer.
Steven sent the Grubhub Boxo dozen
Wow.
donuts.
That bacon one is dripping with bacon.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
Steven, thank you,
This one's
buddy.
got sprinkles on it.
It's a hell
I
of
like
a way-
sprinkles.
Hell of a way to start the day.
But this is one of those things we have no idea what kind of donuts some of those are. I
It's
mean,
gonna be a donut adventure.
yes. And who doesn't want a donut adventure on Friday?
We shall.
So you're taking the one that I wanted.
There's another one of
I'm
them.
sorry.
There's
Okay.
2 of those.
No, it's okay.
I will have
It's
this.
all right. It's all
I
right.
didn't realize that was the one.
By the way, Chris, I'm willing to give you the one that I want because you're my friend. You know, that's
You're the one that I want?
yeah.
This is peanut
Oh,
butter.
you actually did that. You must
Say
be in a
that's
good mood.
Peanut butter and chocolate donut.
Hi.
Steven, you legend. Thank you, buddy. Sincerely appreciate that.
Now it's going to smell like donuts the entire day.
Shucks.
Yes, it is dripping with bacon.
It is.
I mean, if you can drip with bacon, that donut
That's
is
the
doing it.
definition of it. You're not wrong. Thank you, Steven. Appreciate that, buddy. That's mighty kind of you, man. We appreciate that.
There's one smell that's stronger than all the
It's
others.
it's the maple bourbon.
It's the
bacon
maple.
donut.
It is
Yeah.
the maple. You're right. That's
Yeah.
what it is.
100%. That's what it is. 100%. Which I will be eating when we get to the break. All right.
You sure you don't want to take a bite now? I mean, I think it's only it's a good deal because Steven went through the effort. So go for it. Do you have anything over there for the dripping bacon though?
The floor.
Yeah, you're right. The floor.
Oh
You got
my God.
it dripped on your hand. Now it's on your lap. But anyway,
And it's warm.
Diesel just moved. His head moved like someone just dirtied the studio.
You'll be all right. Hello, go work for it.
By the way, again, thank you, Steven, for sending those. Those look expensive, so we appreciate it. And Rob seems to be enjoying the. So, describe the mix of the maple and the bacon. Is it like eating like a fluffy pancake? Okay,
It's like
dude, you got some major. Oh, never mind. It wasn't your beard. It's on the floor now.
There's like eating a fluffy pancake with maple syrup, and then you lay. And by the way, soft bacon, floppy bacon.
That's not floppy.
It is. Floppy
It does not look floppy.
Dude.
That's some crispy looking bacon.
Dude,
You cannot pick like a 3 centimeter piece and say that it's crispy or floppy.
this is floppy bacon, bro.
I can tell you one thing. That's the messiest thing I've seen you eat on that side of the board.
Yeah, I'm gonna get in trouble for this.
No, because engineering brought it in.
That's true.
And engineering would be the ones who would get mad.
I got
So
permission. Yep, that's true.
we can get them to bring the shop vac in at 12 and you can shop vac that whole area.
Talk about the Nuggets or something.
Okay. So last night, Rob was right. Denver was able to be steady the entire time. Nikola Jokic is the best guy, the best player in basketball, has been for a couple years now. He proved it again last night. The question is, where was Jimmy Buckets when Bam is leading you in scoring and rebounds and Jimmy is nowhere to be found? What is going on? Jimmy Buckets is supposed to be the guy that's leading your team. And the other problem with Miami last night is they could not hit a shot. They had gimmies all over the place, could not hit the shots. And then there's also, some could say that it's a conspiracy, but I know how Rob feels about referees. The fact that there was this disparaging amount of fouls on one side and not on the other. And you're not getting foul shots. You're not getting those extra points. And Miami was not getting any fouls. So there we go. And that is, in a nutshell, why this is probably going to be a sweep. We'll find out when we get to Miami and the referees are less about Denver. But in the end, it all comes down to, where's Jimmy Butler? Was he shut down, or was it the atmosphere? Could he just not? He just was having an off night. And it's so bad that they've accelerated the timetable for Tyler Hero. Tyler Hero is going to be back in game number 2 now, when it was going to be 3. They're going to rush him back. Hopefully he doesn't hurt himself, because they need someone else who could score, since Jimmy didn't. Got back within 10, I believe got back in within 8 at one point. Was having a really good fourth quarter, but they could not close because they couldn't make shots. There, we good?
Yeah, thanks. Well done. First off, delicious donut. I mean, top tier donut. So good.
So you know what you need? You need a friend like that who's with you when you need help, or just wants to hang with you and covers for you. That's what you need, Rob.
Hey, do my job while I eat a donut. Thanks, so. You're the best. That donut was so good. I'm going to tell you.
See, I didn't abandon you. I was there for you.
Miss Lisa, he's doing it. He's doing the thing. That donut was so good. I'm going to tell you, it comes from a place called Duck Donuts, which you can get on Grubhub. Do that.
I've never heard of Duck Donuts before either.
I haven't either, but I'm telling you right now.
I wonder where their physical location is.
Already been added to my Grubhub favorites list. Good gosh. They are on Pelham Road.
So just a piece up that way.
Yeah. I wish I didn't know that. I don't even need to Grubhub.
You could probably go that way on your way home if you wanted.
I don't even need to Grubhub. I can just Schlubhub myself over there to get it. It's phenomenal. You cannot win a game if you can't hit the ocean from a boat with the basketball, right? Now, I am absolutely going to acknowledge that there was a massive free throw discrepancy last night. So massive that I absolutely have to point it out. I think the NBA can have games where one team is just more physical and therefore commits more fouls. I can also say that there are some games where one team just dramatically outfouls the other. This last night was not either one of them. Last night, the Denver Nuggets shot 20 free throws. Now, 20 is not an enormous number. So it tells me that the refs, for the most part, were letting the boys play last night, which I appreciate. It's the finals. Let's let basketball determine who wins the basketball games. The Nuggets shot 20 free throws. Miami, in an NBA game, shot 2.
And that's the thing, you're just, there's a big difference there. And there were some calls that were obviously missed. People were getting mugged in there and they were not calling it.
Now, again, I think Miami had one problem with that. And I think this is a problem with the NBA as a whole. Do we all believe Do we all believe that the NBA has the Jordan rules? That superstars are treated better by refs than everyday average run-of-the-mill players? To me, the answer is yes. As much as I hate that, I think that there are superstars who get treated better than your average everyday run-of-the-mill player. I think that Jimmy Buckets is going to get more calls than Gabe Vincent. And I think Nikola Jokic is going to get more calls than, I don't know, Aaron Gordon, Michael Porter Jr. Last night, the officiating in that game was questionable. I am not going to argue with that. But there are two things that happen. One of them, James just hit on, and I'm glad you did because I'm coming to that. The first thing is the Miami Heat were not forcing the ball into the middle of the floor. They were trying to play around Nikola Jokic. If you play around Nikola Jokic, it means the majority of your shots are mid to long range J's and threes, which they're going to be a significant reduction in number of fouls called when the majority of your offense is coming from 10, 12 feet and deeper. Number two, I think the officials were very much trying to let the NBA Finals be the NBA Finals. We don't want this game to be won or lost at the free throw stripe. We want the better basketball team to win this. And the third thing, and this is the thing that James hit, and I think he's spot on. The Miami Heat attempted 39 three-pointers last night. They also shot 96 times, but 39 three-pointers last night. You're going to have a foul called on a three-pointer once every 9 three-point efforts that you put up. So that is also going to cause a bit of a discrepancy in the calls. Here's what I will say about that game, though. I stayed up. I watched every minute of that game last night because it's the NBA Finals. Of course I was going to. I stayed up and I watched every minute of that game last night. And as a fan and as somebody who likes it or not, that controversy in sports is good for me. It never once felt to me like the officiating was one-sided in that game. It didn't actually even jump out to me until around midway through the third when I was like, Miami hasn't really taken a lot of free throws here. It didn't stand out to me at all. I didn't feel, are there missed calls? Yes. There's always going to be missed calls. It's basketball. It is probably, and I say this sincerely, probably the most difficult game at the professional level to officiate. It's tough. It's fast. There are multiple different things on any play that one person has to look at. It's not an easy game to officiate. I did not feel watching that game last night like there was an officiating advantage going the way to Denver. Now, I'm not saying that there wasn't. I'm saying during the game, I never really looked at the TV and was like, Miami's getting screwed here, dude. Like Miami's getting the shaft. This is bad. It didn't feel like it was bad. It felt like Miami was playing outside in basketball. It felt like Denver, especially when they realized, because what was Miami in the first quarter? Like 6 of 19, 6 of 20 in the first quarter? It felt after the first quarter like Denver realized Miami couldn't shoot. Blame it on the altitude, blame it on the fatigue, blame it on whatever you want to blame it on. But it felt like Miami could not hit the ocean from a boat with a basketball. Denver realized it. And Zoe, if the guy you're lined up across from can't put the brown thing in the round thing, I don't need to get a hand in his face. I'll just let him miss because I got Nikola Jokic under there grabbing boards.
Yeah, and the thing is, what do you blame it on? I mean, just everybody was Bam was not having an off day. That was
13 of 25, 26 points in 40 minutes of action, added 13 boards and 5 assists as well.
But again, he's not the guy you want leading your team in scoring and everything else. That should be on top of what Jimmy Butler does. And Jimmy was a no-show. Everybody else it was really bad. It was embarrassing how bad the shooting was for Miami.
Yes. Yes, it was. It was embarrassing for the Heat. Here's the beautiful thing about this for the Denver Nuggets. Denver won that game handily, won that game easily, and didn't even have to. They didn't even have to wear themselves out, right? They didn't even have to wear themselves out. If you were Miami with a speed advantage, your hope is that you are going to find a way to make Denver sprint all over the floor, to wear them out, to tire them out just a little bit, because they had a 9-day rest coming into this. Or you do like you did in the other 3 series and you take game 1 and you put Denver on the back foot. They did neither. Late in that game, did it feel to you, Great One, like Denver was going hard, like Denver was wearing themselves out, like there was going to be a fatigue issue? Or did it just feel like Denver was doing their thing at their pace?
Well, Denver, I think that's been their MO all season, and probably since Jokic became the star that he is. Their pacing is always about the same. It never seems frantic. It seems calculated. It seems there's no panic there.
None.
Yeah. Even when Miami was starting to come back, they just kept doing what they were doing, and it worked. And in the end, Jokic had to throw in a few shots himself, and he did, and they won the game.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. It never felt like Denver was hustled. It never felt like, and this is, I guess, what I'm trying to ultimately say. This game never felt like Miami was controlling the tone, right? It felt like there was a couple of runs Miami went on, but Miami couldn't hit a shot to save their butts. And it just felt like Denver was having zero issues owning the pace of play from start to finish. And Miami was never a threat. I don't want to have a knee-jerk reaction, though, and say this series is over. But you see anything last night that makes you think I would be wrong for saying that?
I want to see if Jimmy Butler shows up in game 2.
That's fair.
I think from the beginning you probably thought there was going to be a sweep or at least 5 anyway.
Yep.
So we'll see what Jimmy does in game 2. If they can't shoot in game 2, the thing's over. Yeah.
Chris is hanging on the line, wants to talk a little NBA Finals with us. Chris, welcome to the show, big dog. Good to have you.
Good to be here, and I hate to open up a call with some bona fides, but I will real quickly. I have watched every single second of every Denver Nuggets game this season. Nuggets fan from way back in the Nick Van Exel days, and so I watch very intently with what's going on in this game. And a couple of things that I want to point out. Zoe was asking about Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler to start the game was 3 for 6 from the field. That was in the first quarter. As Aaron Gordon was dominating in the paint, Eric Spoelstra made the adjustment late in the first quarter and going into the second to actually put Jimmy Butler on Aaron Gordon, and that physicality kept Aaron Gordon out of the paint. But from that point forward, Jimmy Butler was 3 for 9 from the field after that switch. They have to pick their poison. Jimmy is either going to be a force defensively against either Jamal Murray or against Aaron Gordon, and that's going to completely sap his legs as he's running around dribble handoffs from Jokic to Murray or banging with the physicality of Aaron Gordon down in the paint, and it's going to take away from what he does offensively. So they're going to have to make a choice somehow, some way between what they're going to ask Jimmy Butler to do in this series. So to me, that's one of the reasons why Jimmy Butler was so ineffective in this game. Secondly, as far as the free throw disparity goes, how many times did you actually see Miami attack the paint and get into the restricted area? Jimmy Butler did it twice in the first quarter. For the remaining 3 quarters, he did it once. The number of times I saw Butler actually dribble into the paint, actively looking to pass it out instead of just going up, I was baffled by that strategy. And there were so many push shots and mid-range jumpers for Bam Adebayo that it almost didn't feel like there were fouling opportunities for the Denver defense. Like it was an insane strategy offensively to me with what Spoelstra decided to do, which was, hey, we're going to try to get into kick it out to three-point shooters who are going to be in altitude on only 48 hours rest after a grueling Game 7, and we're going to rely on trying to knock down more threes. And here's the crazy thing, Rob and Lonzo, you may not realize this. Miami shot better from three-point range than Denver did last night. That's how crazy that game was. Miami had fewer turnovers. They had almost twice as many offensive rebounds and shot better both in volume and percentage from the three-point line, and it was still a 21-point game in the fourth quarter. It was just an insane game last night.
It was. Chris, great call, buddy. Appreciate it. Thanks for checking in. I think you nailed it. I really do. I think you nailed it, and I had said this already, but I'm glad I'm glad to be validated. Miami was not attacking the rim. Attacking the rim is how you go to the line. In fact, after that game was over, Jimmy Butler at one point said, "That's on me. I can't end a game with 0 free throws. I have to create the opportunities to get fouled. I got to send myself to the line." He said, "I will correct that in game number 2." And he's not wrong. He's not wrong. The other thing is, though, as a team, you got to go better than 40% from the floor. He's right. Chris does have a point. The Heat shot better from the three-point line. They were 33.3% from the three-point line to Denver's 29.6%. The difference is Denver took 27 threes. The Heat took 39 and knocked down 13 of them. 39 free throws means that's about 16 times you could have, should have, would have gone to the rack. Because what's the only way to stop Nikola Jokic from taking over a game? Put him on the bench. What's the only way to put Nikola Jokic on the bench? Do what the Lakers did in the game that they won, Lonzo. Get him in foul trouble early and make him go sit for about half of the third quarter and give yourself a chance. And the Heat did not do that last night. Did not do that at all. Jokic ended that game with 1 personal foul. That's bad strategy, my dude. Let's take a break. We're back after this. We got to talk about SEC scheduling, regional college baseball, and Ja Morant. Think his anxiety's through the roof right now? Back after this on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
Campbell's.
Live read here, guys. Stay right there. We'll be right back.
So Kevin, yeah, you're right. He did win. The way I bowl is pretty straight, which is not a surprise. Used to have a little bit of curve to it, but curve takes away power, and I just want things to explode. So if I'm off like a half inch on the head pin, it's going to be a split. But I also bowl hard enough that pins will bounce everywhere and come back in, take out a couple more than what they need to. I finally found it in the second game. Turkeyed 7, 8, and 9, and I needed to mark in the 10th frame, and I was off by just a little bit. And so he ended up with 167. I ended up with 158. If I had marked in 10th frame, even with just a spare and another high ball, chances are I would have beat him or at least tied him. But I missed. I didn't mark, and he won. And usually my best game is the third game. So, but here's the thing. Overall, we won as a show because 3 of us bowled 2 games, and my understanding is the fourth one only bowled 1 game. So that would mean forfeit. And so if part of your team forfeits, that means your team loses. It's a shame that it's that way, but it is, and I don't know, maybe there was an injury that I wasn't aware of. By the way, I was playing hurt, but I'm not going to use that as an excuse. Like I said, I would have had Diesel if I marked in that 10th frame, and I didn't, and then turned around, did not notice that he was sitting back there at the table watching intently to see if I was going to be able to do it. But generally we get to bowl 3 games, but because Rob and I were doing a show, we got over there like 45 minutes later than everybody else, or we would have been able to get another game in. And I have finally found what I was trying to hit on that. And I needed to wipe my ball off a little bit more because it kept getting stuck. So I had to use one of the balls from the lane. And for some reason, they all had little thumb holes. Apparently all my friends on WRD have small thumbs. I couldn't find, so I was bowling with like just half my thumb in. And I kept looking, I could not find any. So in the end, yes, Diesel won overall, but we won as a team because we were consistent and we actually bowled both games. Don't let anyone else color it a different way, because that's all it is. It's coloring.
I ate a second donut, and then I put the box way over there, Lonzo.
Yeah, closer to me. By the way, I did eat a donut during Rob's live, and it was very good.
That's a good donut, Jack.
It was very moist. And I know some people don't like the word moist, but you're weird if the word bothers you. But the fact that it had sit there for a segment and was still moist was good.
That's a good donut, bro.
Also, by the way, we need to address it. I know we addressed it because it was addressed a bunch on Offsides yesterday.
You want to address the worst day of my broadcasting
No. It was not a bad day. You were consistent, and you were consistent. I was consistent. Diesel was consistent. Somebody else was not.
Worst day of my broadcasting career.
All right, so we as a team, the Rob Brown Show, we won. And here's the reason why. Now, did Diesel get the high score? Absolutely, he did. And I will say I turkeyed 7, 8, and 9 in game number 2. All I had to do was mark in the 10th frame, and I was off a little bit, and I missed it. And Diesel was watching intently, and he knew he won, and we would not have enough time for a third game. So good for him. And by the way, we talked Diesel up big time yesterday. His game improved so much when we did that bowling league, and he got really good. So he is right there. So him winning is not a surprise, but I very easily could have won if I'd have marked in that 10th frame, but I didn't. So he won. But somebody else didn't bowl 2 games. So you cannot declare yourself a champion or whatever it is that was declared on the other show, from what I understand, if you didn't bowl both games. That is a forfeit. You did not complete. It's like running half the marathon and then people thinking, oh, hey, look, he won, when actually you were just in last place and You just didn't say anything. We've seen that happen several times where people took a cab ride or something like that. That's the equivalent of this. Declaring yourself the winner after one game when everybody else bowled 2 games. So, but that's fine. That's fine. And he came over and spent some quality time with me yesterday just to take a picture, which ended up on the internet of his score versus mine. But he didn't show up for the second game. So, I mean, I'll let you guys decide. And you can mention that to him later since it was brought up on his show yesterday. By the way, kudos to Diesel. Excellent game. What we expected. But when you don't, it's just, I mean, I know you're not saying anything, and that's fine. You don't have to. I will take it all, because in friendly competition, as we discussed yesterday, you have to compete for the entirety of the thing, and he did not. So there's that.
Yesterday was the single worst day of my broadcasting career. Now, for those of you that have followed the Fan Upstate Twitter account for any length of time, you are aware that there is a friendly competition betwixt the two shows in everything we do.
And by the way, there should be all that. Same team. Yeah, we're on the same team, but you know what? You know how you get better on the same team is by competing. That's how you do that. One show comes up with something that's excellent, then we're like, wow, we've got to do that or something similar, not the same thing, because that would be copying. So, I mean, and that's how the team overall gets better, because let's face it, we're not competing with anybody else around here. This is the best sports station in all of the upstate of South Carolina. So the only way we're going to get better is not by looking at those guys or those guys. I mean, that's looking down. So we're looking across and we're trying to make each other better by being competitive.
It is like the SEC, right? Our job as a conference, the station, is to be better than every other conference, every other station. And we do that more often than we don't. But within the conference, you've got the individual teams all striving to be the best within the conference and elevate the conference as a whole. So, yesterday, as Lonzo pointed out, Zoe and I showed up late to the party because it started a half hour before the show was over, and jumped on the lane well after everyone else had started. When we showed up, I saw that Mark Ryan was on pace for a game of about $150. He ended up with a 156. Now, Rob Brown bowls one of two ways. I either cross 200 and get to like 220, 225, or I just suck. And there's no in between. So the first game, I showed up, and Steve, our big boss, was on a lane with Diesel and I. And Diesel said, when's the last time you bowled? And I said, I haven't bowled since the Bad Bowlers Club came to its conclusion last year, which was what? June?
You sure that was last year?
It may have been the year before that.
Yeah, I can't remember. So, and that's the last time I bowled too.
That's the last time that I bowled. I said, but I'll be all right. It's going to take me a minute to warm up. And I opened the first game with a turkey. So open, triple X. I was like, word, got this. And then it was like 9 spare, 9 spare, spare 9 spare, and ended up with a 141 2.
What?
I don't remember.
I've already lost this week. I don't care. I'm on vacation. But that's not a bad game, dude.
For me, it's a bad game.
First of all, it's hard to adjust. The first game usually is not your best game because you're trying to adjust to,
Here's the problem.
how much wax, how the pins are falling, all that kind of stuff.
Now, my issue here isn't with how I bowled. I mean, it is. I'm obviously not happy about it. My issue here is I realized that as I finished that game, because Diesel was like 5 frames into that game when I showed up. So we went frame for frame, and then he was done. I bowled the entire end of my game. And I noticed as I was creeping up towards that 140 mark that DJ MARC sitting to the left of me was not moving. And Mark, like myself, we have a lot in common. Mark, like myself, is a social butterfly. We find ourselves not only able to, but with a desire to hit every table to talk to everybody that's there. Mark was not doing that. He was just sitting there.
Yeah, you guys are all low-key. I got to say, I was probably the loudest guy in that building yesterday, and that's just so weird. It really is.
So I was like, why? And then I realized, oh, he doesn't want to not be here in case I come up short so that he can grab a picture because the two TVs with the scores on them were next to each other. And wouldn't you know it, I go to the 10th, and basically I have a setup where if I get either a couple of strikes or a strike and then a spare to end the frame, I'm going to beat him. But if I do anything less than a mark in the opening throw and a mark to close out the frame, he's going to beat me. As soon as I ended up leaving the 10th open and coming up like 9 pins short of his total, wouldn't you know it, out came that cell phone camera just quick as a flash. And as we were, the boss, the big boss, the downstairs boss, was on our lane with us. And he walks over and he's like, Rob Brown, he got you. And Mark said, I have been looking for revenge for Papa Shot for 2.5 years. Because for those of you that, again, have been following us for any length of time, we went to Clemson's Media Day in 2020, which is the year that 2020, the year I got here. So 3 years. We went to Clemson's Media Day in 2020, and they ran us through the Media Day Olympics, which had all kinds of different games. They had a golf drive simulator, cornhole, all kinds of stuff, yeah? And Mark spent a week and a half talking smack about Papa Shot because they sent us an email where they're like, you're going to play all these games. Week and a half talking smack about Papa Shot. And the only person in the entire Media Day Olympics who beat me at Papa Shot was the young lady whose name is on the record books as the greatest all-time three-point shooter in Clemson women's basketball history. She's the only one who got me up. I destroyed everybody else. And ever since then, anytime there's competition, I have gotten, this ain't going to be like Papa Shot. It ain't going to be like Papa Shot. So he finally got me yesterday after almost 3 years of waiting at a game I haven't played in well over a year. And listen, it's not an excuse. Congratulations to Mark Ryan. He got me. He finally sniped me.
Yeah,
And
but you know what you did?
out,
You destroyed him in game number 2.
no, his high score beat all my scores.
No. You destroyed him in game number 2.
No,
because my understanding is he didn't bowl game number 2, which means you destroyed him in game number 2.
I respect your desire to find a dub. I respect that. That's the way we should all be. We should all have the mentality of do whatever it takes to find a dub. And I respect that.
Well, I did beat him in game number 2.
You did.
So there's
you
that.
did.
Yeah.
The worst day of my broadcasting career because I beat no one. I beat no one. I had the lowest single game score. I had the lowest single best game score of anybody on our station yesterday. And I need you all to know it is eating at me. It is destroying me internally to the point that I now want to kick every other radio station's ass from here until November so that they throw us another party, so that we get everybody back at the bowling alley, so that I can get my revenge. And I promise you, the fiance and I will be hitting spare time at least 2 to 3 times a month between now and the next time we throw a party there, so that next time we go in there, I know those lanes.
All right. So really quick, I want to point something out. In case you guys didn't know, Mark Ryan's really cool. Okay. So he's the cool guy. His hair's a certain way. His beard's a certain way. He dresses a certain way. One thing that cool guys do, they don't hang out with the nerds. And so I was bowling with my other producers. Okay. And the majority of which have been or are on my show, The Upstate Pulse, 7 to 9 p.m. tomorrow night on Saturday nights. Check it out. Live on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and Facebook, by the way. I look over as I'm bowling, and there's Mark Ryan sitting amongst the nerds. The only reason why, and I just looked over and I grinned because I knew what he was doing. He was waiting till I bowled my last frame, and then out came the camera, just the way that happened with Rob. And I said to T1, Tim, I'm like, Tim, he doesn't care about anything that he just said to you. He was just sitting here waiting for me to finish the frame. And he busts out laughing, takes the picture, and walks away. By the way, I respect that. I don't have a problem with that at all. But you ain't fooling anybody. You would never hang with us unless you were getting something out of it.
For the record, let me once again make clear, I have zero fault with how he handled
Oh,
himself
no.
yesterday.
I don't blame him.
Zero fault.
I made sure I went around and went, oh, what'd you bowl? What'd you bowl? I want to know what everyone else bowled because there's always going to be that competition with us no matter what. You know what? We're a sports station. I don't know if you guys knew that. And you know what you do on a sports station? You talk about sports and you also compete yourself. That's just what you do.
Zero fault with how he handled himself. It was absolutely the correct way to do it. When you get the dub, you make sure everybody knows you got the dub. Just like I am doing right now, when you eat that L, you wear it. You own it. And I will. Diesel killed me. Mark Ryan beat me. Lonzo beat me. I was the peon of the station.
All right. See, this is,
and I will never let it down until I get it back.
He's doing the Michael Jordan thing here, but James is right. James on the stream. So Mark missed 100% of the shots he didn't take in game two. Absolutely.
No, stop.
Absolutely.
I appreciate all of your desire to find a way not to call yourself a loser.
I can make you feel better.
I'm not done.
No. I can make you feel better. Here's the thing. The true talent on both shows were able to win. The producers won, and the doing the air quotes thing, the talent lost. Okay,
how does that make me feel better?
Because
you're like, not only did you lose individually, but you also lose the position groups.
So obviously the producers, the heart of every program, the ones who make things go. Not only do we produce, we occasionally co-host. We're better than you guys. Diesel and I are better than you and Mark. There you go. So it's not about you and Mark anymore. It's about me, and it's about Diesel. Someday you guys might be able to come up to our level. I doubt it. So all those times when you look down on us because we are the lowly, the bagger of radio, we got this on you.
Hey, Zoe, you want to do a who can walk down the stairs faster contest after the show? Why you got to make it personal, man? You're like, let me make you feel better. Also, you loser, you lost this too.
All right, here's what I did. He wants to feel bad. He wants to be motivated because I'm a friend who would never abandon him. I helped him out there. That's what I did.
Miss Lisa, he's doing it again. Let's take a break. When we come back, Adam Silver dropped an absolute bomb on Ja Morant yesterday. And it's not that I care all that much. It's just that I love it so much I have to bring it up on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
We were talking sports, James.
Let me make you feel better. You also let your position unit down, not just you.
Hey,
incredible moment from
if you have those people in your life that just want to feel bad, help them out. I mean,
you weren't going to fix it. I got my ass kicked by everybody. Are you happy when you lose anything?
You're right, Steven. Stairs probably not a good idea for him either. See, there's a way we could solve all this. The four of us could go to a bowling alley, bowl 3 games, and the victor is the victor. No excuses, no incompletes, no nothing. Straight up bowl 3 games, and whoever wins, wins. My prediction is it probably will be Diesel. but I'll be right there. Right. And you know, when someone's looking for a pity party, give them more stuff. It was fun though. And then I went and I asked everybody for their game card.
You really did. He just walking up to people like, hey, you gonna use your card? Can I have it?
My wife is like, you did that? I was like, I know all these people. These are my people. I mean, you know, there was no one from downstairs except for the big boss. These are all my people. I can walk amongst every group, which I did, and have conversations, something that you never see me do. But I was looking for game cards, and I got a bunch of them. Trust me. And then Rob and Diddy and I played the majority of all those cards and got a ton of points.
I like to.
That's almost a double turkey, Trey.
My best game was.
That's almost like Thanksgiving dinner.
My best game was a 267, and I have never gotten close to that again. I will frequently hit like 220, 215. Yesterday was high. Now, I did not bring my own bowling ball, mainly because I forgot that yesterday was the party, or I absolutely would have. And the lane we were on, and I don't know if it was the same for you guys, the lane we were on had obviously just gotten waxed out.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I was getting wax on my ball to the point where like every fourth or fifth frame, my ball got stuck, and I could see it spinning back.
Because I got to the point I was rotating the ball so hard. So the balls, we were at spare time, and the pickup balls at spare time are colored like pool balls, like striped pool balls. So there's a number and a circle on them, and that's the weight of the ball. I was spinning the ball so hard on the one I was using that the circle with the number in it didn't move. It was rotating around that circle with a perfect center. Like Diesel even pointed it out at one point. It was rotating on its side, like perpendicular to the lane, and it wasn't moving.
You know, I'm curious. I'm guessing that most bowling alleys are going to wax their lanes before the day starts, and we were there really early when they had just opened. What part of the day is the best part? When everything's settled, where there's been enough balls on the alley where everything is just perfect. However the pro bowlers have it. I don't know. In the end, despite all the losing and winning and all that stuff, it was a really good time for the first time ever, just hanging out with on air and programming staff, because there's usually everybody there, but it was just us, and it was fun. Rob does that when he wins already.
So yesterday, Adam Silver put out a statement about Ja Morant. You'll remember that Ja Morant was under another investigation because for the second time in his career, Ja Morant was caught on a video waving a piece around, waving a firearm around. First time it happened in a strip club up in, I believe it was in Denver, as a matter of fact. He got in trouble for that. He got told, don't do that. Not a good idea. He then decided to do it again. This time in a vehicle alongside a friend of his. And Adam Silver, according to Tim McMahon of ESPN, said, quote, "We've uncovered a fair amount of additional information. We probably could have brought it to a head now, but we've made the decision that it would be unfair to these players and these teams to announce that decision in the middle of this series." Now, we're not in the middle of the series. We were at the beginning of the series, but I think the point remains at this point. Whatever it is that they found is going to cause such a ruckus that Adam Silver believes it will be a distraction from the NBA Finals. Now, to put everything on the table for the sake of nuance in the conversation, there's not a lot of excitement around this NBA Finals. There's just not, right? I don't know why. I suspect it is because the younger NBA fans, I'm going to put on my old hat for a minute, younger NBA fans love the flash and sizzle of new age superstars, and there really aren't any of those in this series. These are two role player driven blue collar teams. It's a lot of steak and not a lot of sizzle to this series, which is great for us older fans. The younger fans not in it. And so Adam Silver is going to do whatever he can to take as little attention off of this series, which is, I'm calling the shot now, going to be a very low-rated series. But even with that being said, it's still the NBA Finals. And Silver said whatever it is that he's got on Ja Morant would take attention away from the NBA Finals. I'm not trying to knee-jerk. We had people speculating yesterday, it's a half season, it's 50 games.
Could it be the opposite? Could it be the opposite, that they're not going to do anything, and they know the outcry would be such that it would take away from them? Because if they do nothing, that would be just as bad.
I don't think so, and only because of those words, additional information, right? I don't think you say additional information without additional information. They got something else. Now, it may not be as big of a deal, but if you come up with something above and beyond for the second time in his career, and after being told, don't do that again, the first time, Ja was waving his piece around in the front seat of an Escalade in order to impress his YouTube rapper buddy, and then you use the words additional information, it leads me to believe they got something else. Imagine throwing away an opportunity to become the face of the league and doing so to play pretend gangsta in front of a YouTube rapper to impress him.
Unless it's not pretend.
There ain't a bit of me, not a piece of me, that thinks Ja Morant is a certified G. I think he's an incredible basketball player.
You are the company you keep. I'm just saying.
I don't know about that. I think some people want to be the company that they keep. They try to roll with people outside of who they really are for the sake of putting out an image that that's who they really are. But again, imagine wanting that image out when you could have been the face of the league. You could have been the successor to LeBron when he calls it a career. Especially right now when everybody's talking about him potentially doing that. Why would you do it? But the fact that Adam Silver said the new stuff we got on this guy would disrupt the NBA Finals, sheesh. Good luck with that mild anxiety while you wait to find out what that is, Ja. Let's take a break. When we come back, we got to talk college football. The SEC has reached a short decision on their future scheduling. How's that impact the Gamecocks? We'll talk about it next on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. Who do you think you are? I am. One of the greatest sports quotes of all time. All time. Spinning the ball isn't strikes, Rob. Yes, correct. But when I spin the ball, they're usually strikes. And yesterday they weren't. And it was wildly frustrating. I took the hat off.
You never threw it?
No, because Steve was on my lane.
Yeah, because I explained to, I think it was Holcomb. It was like, watch. If the hat comes off, he's not doing well.
It came off at one point, and it was about to get launched, and I looked up, and there was Steve in his lobster shirt. And I was like, nope, probably not the right time right now.
I also explained to him that it's very Spurrier-esque, and it can have a curve to it, which is amazing. He said, like a boomerang? Yeah, like a boomerang. I've seen the thing curve around me when thrown before, so yeah.
Yeah. Rob does not want a pity party. Rob is simply pointing out that he is very disappointed in himself, that he is very disappointed in his lack of performance, and that he is now going to be dropping hints over and over to the bosses downstairs that when we do that again, we have to go back to the same place because I've got to redeem myself. Infuriating.
I had a good time. So, you know. It's like an award show. It's like seeing all that talent in one room. It's amazing. And especially looking around and knowing that I know everybody here and I can go up and talk to everybody here. That is so cool. And these are some of the biggest stars in this entire area, all in one room. And yes, I beat the majority of them in bowling, so that also adds to it. But, you know. don't do that, Steven.
Steven, I appreciate
he moved them to the
Dennis.
windowsill, which is not a good idea. When
When
it starts heating up over there, it might be.
You know why I didn't move him to the office?
Because the office is smelling.
No, because somebody would find.
What,
them
do you
and they
plan
would
on
go
taking
on.
them home, or you're not going to share with?
Splitting what's left of with you, and we're gonna.
No,
I
don't want.
We're gonna do a donut draft after the show is
All
over.
right, maybe I'll take some home for other people.
Correct. We will do a donut
Because I'm
draft.
still tasting the sugar, from which was good, but I don't eat donuts that much anymore. So disappointed there weren't no Cruellas. I like the Cruellas.
Hey, can we get some Cruellas? Where would one find the best cannoli in the upstate? Just out of curiosity.
I'm not
Where
sure.
would one find the best cannoli?
I don't think I've ever had a cannoli.
Oh, you got to have a cannoli. Those of y'all in the chat, where would I find the best cannoli, huh? I need to know. When we were up in Boston, some guy turned me on to this little bakery in the old, still looks like it's in the colonial area neighborhood. And they had the best chocolate chip cannoli I've ever had in my life.
All right, I just looked up cannolis. I don't believe I've had a cannoli before.
Love cannolis.
Krispy Kreme's has cannolis?
No. Don't listen. If Kevin says something, don't take it seriously. I think that's the new rule on the stream.
Come on. Give Kevin some credit. I'm sure Kevin knows where all the donut shops are.
Got him.
Especially after whatever that was he was trying to say earlier. So
Got him.
Warehouse in the first break.
Warehouse in the first break. Wow, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Our número dos of the Rob Brown Show goes now. This is the Fan Upstate. Howdy, y'all, and welcome in. I am Rob Brown. On the other side of the metaphorical glass today, the alpha and the omega of the Fan Upstate, the great one himself, Lonzo, is here. Glad to have you guys along for the ride with us. We are skipping all over the world of sports today. We had some NBA Finals Game 1 talk last night as the Denver Nuggets worked the Miami Heat last night. It was not a game. I mean, it was a game in that there was a clock and two teams and they kept score, but it was not a competitive game at all. Never felt like Miami was in that game. Not once. Not even when they went on runs did I take them seriously. It was like a boxer landing a jab. Like, all right. But unless you follow it with something, it's useless, dude. What is this? So we'll come back to that later on in the show. Big news out of Destin, Florida yesterday, as it has been announced that the SEC will, in 2024 at least, once Texas and Oklahoma arrive in the SEC, will stay for at least one more year with the 8 conference game model. Every team will have one permanent rival. They will have 3 crossover rivals, and the remaining games will be played on a rotating basis with the other teams in the conference. Why is this? Why is the question? I know what the answer is. Do you? I'll tell you what the answer is. For the past couple of years, the Southeastern Conference and the Big Ten have been alternating getting 2 teams into the Final Four, or getting both teams in the semifinal back when it was just a 2-horse race. The only way that the SEC is going to be able to do that is by having, number one, more teams that are either undefeated or have a single loss, and number 2, continued success outside of the conference. Because as college football pushes forward, we know that the world is waking up to the fact, I believe, that if the SEC only plays the SEC, they can stand around all day and talk about how they're the greatest conference and they're untouchable and they have all the talent and they have all the coaching and the best stadiums and the best this and the best that. And that's all well and good. But you've got to have a barometer with which to prove it, right? And if SEC schools only play other SEC schools, I don't have to take the claim seriously that they are the best conference in the game, because I go, how can you prove that to me, right? Once again, we get into philosophy. If you make a statement of fact, if you make a proof positive claim, you are the one responsible for putting evidence on the table that it is true, regardless of what that claim is. If you claim that something is true, you have to prove to me that it is. There's only one way that the SEC can prove that it is the best conference, and when it comes down to it, prove that they are worthy of having their one-loss teams go in ahead of all the other one-loss teams. And the only way they can prove it is by playing out-of-conference games. Now, it does leave some responsibility to the programs, right? Because if you're going to do 8 games, 4 of them out of conference, and all 4 of them are against smaller schools, FCS schools. If you're taking on, in your non-conference games, South Alabama, FIU, FAU, and Charleston Southern, you're not proving anything to anybody. You still got to take on contenders from other Power 5 conferences. But if you're a school, you are more likely to take on a Power 5 conference team, which, by the way, the SEC is mandating that every school have one of their 4 non-conference games be against the Power 5 team. But you are more likely to book an upper tier Power 5 conference team if you have 4 non-conference games than if you have 3. If I have 3 non-conference games, I don't want to overload my non-conference schedule when I play within the Southeastern Conference. So if you're only giving me 3, I would rather round those 3 out with Furman, FAU, and the University of South Alabama than I would want to go grab Penn State. I would rather play FIU, UAB, and I don't know, Coastal Carolina. Well, that's probably not the best example. Charlotte. Then want to take one of those games and go grab Maryland or Florida State or whoever. I would rather set it up that way because I know I can afford a loss and still go to the dance. I cannot afford to. I cannot lose twice and get into the playoffs. So knowing that I've got 8 conference games lined up and that more often than not, those conference games are going to be competitive. They are going to be physical. I am going to use my open dates, my non-conference dates, to try to stick the most moist cupcakes I can find into those slots. And I think that's the game plan here. Because if I have 4 open dates, now I'm a little less afraid of maybe asking a Pac-12 team to do a home and home and to come visit the Southeast and we'll go out to California. I'm a little less afraid of grabbing a Maryland, of grabbing a North Carolina and doing a home and home with them. Because it's one less SEC game that I have to play every year. And I still get the same number of non-conference cupcakes tossed in there as well. This is why I'm so quick to say, every time discussions like this come up, this is why I am so quick to say, hey, college football is a business, right? College football fans love to talk about college football as if it is this perfect, ideal, incredible, beautiful, flawless thing. But it's not. It's a business. If it was all about idealism and perfection, you go 9-game conference schedule. You did not expand the SEC for the second time in 10 years or whatever it is. Not wanting every SEC team to play everybody else, right? If you are going to continue to grow and add crown jewels like Texas and Oklahoma, you do so, why? You do so your league is more attractive, so you have more talent, and so you can create more and more frequent highlight games to put on television. This is a lot of games. 14 teams times 9 games. I'm bad at math, but that's a lot. You could theoretically create a situation where you're adding a lot of quality games in conference, driving up your fan interest in these games, but you decided not to. You decided to leave it at 8. And the reason why is this. Getting multiple teams into the playoffs is valuable. But it also ties into something else that Greg Sankey said. If you missed this one, here we go. Greg Sankey, the commissioner of the Southeastern Conference, said about a day and a half ago, when asked about the formula, the setup for the 12-team playoff, he said that he would be perfectly fine if there were no automatic qualifiers. Winning your conference does not get you an auto bid. The initial setup we've all talked about was 6 automatic qualifiers being conference champions, followed by 6 play-in teams. The top 4, which would more often than not be your top 4 Power 5 conference winners. Your top 4 would get a bye. The bottom 8 would play each other. Then the bottom 4 would play the top 4 in week 2, and the middle 2 would play the middle 2, and we just have a bracket.
This is front runner speak. If he was a commissioner of the Big 12, he would not be saying this.
You're correct.
Because if you look at history, you know how many SEC teams would be in there, and
Yep.
and doing the formula that he's saying, he'd be able to get more SEC teams in the 12, and it's just front runner speak.
Yep. That's 100% it. If you do the conference champions going in, then you're going to be bumping some other guys backwards. And considering how many SEC teams annually finish 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, somewhere in that range, right? If you do the automatic qualifiers, then you might have some teams that end up bumping the tail 3 or 4 of the 12 out of what would have been a playoff spot. If there are no automatic qualifiers, let's be real. How many years is the SEC conference champion not going to be in the top 12? Not very, right? So there's a spot right there, and you don't bump anybody back. So you create a situation where you might be able to sneak 1, 2, hell, 3 more SEC teams into the playoff. And at the end of the day, this is as much about getting those teams into the postseason where there's more money for it than it is anything else. When this quote started circulating on social media, I saw a lot of people reacting to it like, what? Why would he say that? He would say that because it creates a situation where more SEC teams can get in. I'm going to go ahead and shock you right now, Lonzo. I'm going to predict the future. Like Johnny Carson. It's not as impactful when I don't have an envelope to open.
Well, how many people know who Johnny Carson is now?
I am Carmack.
Okay.
I'm going to make a prediction right now that is going to come true. And that prediction, Lonzo, is that at some point, somewhere, maybe in the next week, maybe in the next year, Tony Petitti, he's the commissioner of the Big Ten. And he's looking right now at the Southeastern Conference. And he's like, hey, that was a pretty good idea. So here is my prediction, Lonzo. At some point in the very near future, Tony Petitti is going to come out and say the same thing for the Big Ten. He's going to be like, hey, we're good. We're good. He said, I'd be happy with no automatic qualifiers. In other words, top 12 ranked teams make the playoff, which, of course, won't happen. That's what Sankey said. Yeah, it's not going to happen because as long as the SEC and Big Ten don't have control, as long as there is some room for input from everybody who's not the SEC or the Big Ten and maybe the Big 12, the smaller schools are going to fight the hell out of this.
And they should, because they won't be playing if the SEC gets its way and the Big Ten follows. It'll be like 6 from each, and nobody else will get in. That might be stretching it. I think every year there's a good shot at least 3 to 4 out of the SEC and 3, maybe 4 out of the Big Ten. So that means you got what, 4 slots left, maybe?
Yeah, maybe.
For everybody else?
Maybe. And again, it all depends on how they finish. Now, I will say we are going to have a give and take.
So, Will, losing teams from championship games, will they get in?
I mean, it depends on how the rankings go.
Because they made it to the championship. So how far will they drop in the rankings?
Yeah. So the question here would be, for instance, what if we have, let's say, in an SEC championship game, a 2-loss SEC West team takes on an undefeated SEC East team, and the 2-loss SEC West team beats the team out of the East, right? So your conference champion is a 2-loss team. Your conference runner-up is a 1-loss team. Sankey, by saying I want the top 12 teams, is it possible that a 2-loss SEC team is going to get? No. They're not going anywhere. So if there are no AQs, they're in. The team that lost the SEC championship game is in. And probably the team that lined up behind both of those teams is in. Seeing 4 SEC teams in the 12-team playoff, seeing a quarter of the spaces taken up by the SEC, and frankly, maybe the Big Ten, is not going to be a shock. You could see 8 of the 12, as Lonzo just pointed out, eaten up by the top 2 conferences. That's why they're expanding. It's also part of the reason, as we mentioned earlier in the segment, that they're sticking for now with an 8-conference game schedule. Make it a little easier. Demand they play another Power 5 out-of-conference game, but they're not going to demand how good that team has to be. Just good enough so that at the end of the year, the SEC can go, well, we got a, 12-2 record out of conference. So our team should be ranked ahead of their teams inside that top 12. The only question that I have out of this, really 2 of them. Number 1, do we want a situation? Yeah, I'll throw Lonzo into the mix here. There is a hypothetical, but not a big stretch, world where Michigan and Ohio State could play 3 times to end the year, right? They play once in the end of the regular season. They play again for a Big Ten championship. They both get slotted into the playoffs, and one is significantly higher than the other, so they play each other in the first or second round of the playoffs. Do we want that? Is that bad inherently? I don't know. If they're 2 of the best teams in college football, I don't necessarily think it's bad.
Yeah, I don't know either. I don't know how I feel about that. And in recent history, people would say you don't want that because Ohio State's lost to Michigan the last 2 years in a row. But if it comes down to, if you're picking the best 2 teams and those are the best 12 and those 2 are still in the best 12,
they play again.
It could happen.
Yeah,
it could. And the same thing could happen in the SEC also.
I don't know, man. This whole thing is
Alabama and Georgia could play each other 3 times.
This whole thing's interesting. I still think the right play is go all the way up till 16. Then we don't have to worry about it, right? But I also understand how many of us think a team ranked 13 to 16 is ever going to win. But then again, that's why they play the game, right? That's why they play the game. All right, so there's some comments from Greg Sankey. What do you guys think about him? How did they hit you? Did they hit you at all? Do you care? I have noticed there were 2 groups of fans on the interwebs in the social when this quote came out. There was a group of fans A that were like, rah, 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 and then there were a group of fans B that were like, yeah, whatever.
Are you excited for a 12-team playoff?
Oh, yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
However it shakes out is however it shakes out. And it may not be perfect the first couple of years, but I can't wait till it's actually happening.
Yep. I'm down for it. We may have to tinker. We may have to change some things. We may have to make some small adjustments here and there, but yes. Give me that 12-team playoff. Take a break. When we come back, y'all want to talk a little college baseball? Clemson hosts the regional that starts today. South Carolina hosts the regional that starts today. Let's take a regional preview of both of those teams as we wrap up hour 2. I'm Rob. He's Lonzo. You're listening to The Rob Brown Show. You are listening, ladies and gentlemen, to the Fan Upstate.
Warehouse.
Live read here, guys. Y'all stay right there. We'll be right back. So Steven sent us a description of the donuts that he sent.
Yeah, I didn't get it, so but that's fine.
I'll tweet it to you. I'll just send it to you.
Okay, I'm trying to fix because Chris brought in the donuts. I forgot to hit record, so I'm having to pull stuff off the skimmer to piece together the. So the entire first segment. Once I know this, is like, I'll just wait till start recording the second segment. Makes it easier to edit, but it's taking forever to filter. So I'm blaming Chris for it. I guess ultimately I could blame Steven, but you know.
No, let's blame Chris. I like Steven.
I like blaming Chris. What's up, Keegan? So if you're not
welcome back, buddy.
you're not doing a lunch breakdown anymore, would it be like the brunch something? The brunch breakdown?
Yeah, we talked about that. And I need to bring it back. I just do. The brunch breakdown's right there.
Yeah, it is.
All right, real quick. I left one thing off that I wanted to say in that last segment. For those of you that are college football traditionalists, getting rid of the automatic qualifiers does come with one, I think, very important drawback. Winning your conference doesn't really matter anymore, right? Winning your conference loses its luster. Here's the thing. If 12-0 Michigan and 12-0 Ohio State are playing for a conference championship, it's not the end of the world if you lose it, right? You're still in. Now, it would matter if you are trying to earn that bye and not have to play that one extra game, which does carry some weight. But if you got a pair of 12-0 teams in a conference championship, it really doesn't matter who wins it anymore. Somebody's going and somebody's staying home. Now, I don't think it carries that much weight because even if there are AQs for conference champions, I still think those two teams are both going, right? But it does kind of take the shine off of conference championships.
Unless it's one of those things, because sometimes one side of the conference is not good. They may have 3 or 4 losses, and they're just in there because they're better than everybody else on that side. But since some of the conferences are going away from actually having that, they're just picking the top 2 to go against each other. Maybe you eliminate that.
The ACC is going that direction. The SEC is going that direction. The Big Ten will go that direction. So will the Pac-12. Honestly, the Pac-10 is not going to have a choice if they even have conference championship games, because if they lose 2 or 3 more teams, they won't have enough to justify a conference championship team. They'll just pick a regular season champ. So I don't know, man. I don't know. There's a lot going on. It's very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. All right. Let us get some college baseball in here real quick. We will start, ladies and gentlemen, with the regional taking place in Clemson, South Carolina. Earned its highest NCAA tournament seed since 2006. They will play as the number 4 seed overall, and their regional berth starts at Doug Kingsmore Stadium today. Tough draw. They get Lipscomb today at 1 o'clock. Then they will get either Tennessee or Charlotte, depending on how the 2 games today turn out. The winner of the Clemson Regional will face the winner of the Auburn Regional. That regional will be hosted by number 13 seed Auburn. Clemson has not advanced to the Super Regionals since 2010, but in 2010, they ultimately made it to the College World Series. I say to you very frequently, one of the reasons that I love college baseball is that I think it has a very healthy mix of 2 important aspects of postseason sports. Postseason sports depending on the postseason format, either favor the best teams or they favor the team that gets hot at the right time. For instance, the National Football League. I would say, Zoe, probably 60% of the time does the team that we think is the best team win the Super Bowl. Very frequently, it's the team that started playing their best football at the tail end of the year. I go back to the year that the Giants ruined the Patriots' perfect season. The Patriots were a better overall top-to-bottom football team than the Giants, but the Giants caught a fever coming into the playoffs, and they ended up stealing that Super Bowl from Brady.
The only thing that I would call an exception to that rule is if one team is disrespected.
That does change everything, doesn't it, Travis? Then you have the other side of the coin, March Madness. How many times do we think the best team in college basketball wins March Madness? 1 in 10, 1 in 20, 1 in 30? Ordinarily, the team that wins March Madness is the team that gets white hot when the tournament starts. And there's usually 1 or 2 of those, and they make a run. I think postseason baseball kind of balances that out. You got to win a lot of games to get through a regional. You got to win 2 more to get through a super regional. You got to win a handful more just to make it to the College World Series Finals. And then you got to win a best 2 out of 3 to win the College World Series Finals as well. So you've got to get hot at the end of the year going into the regionals and the super regionals in order to carry the momentum that gets you to Omaha. But you've also got to be a really good team, because one bad game can throw your mojo off. And now all of a sudden, in any given stage, now you're 9 innings from elimination. You've got to not only be hot, but you've got to be one of the best, most talented, most well-constructed teams out there as well. That's why I think college baseball's postseason might very well be the best in sports. There are 2 I put up next to each other. College baseball's postseason and the NHL Stanley Cup. And for the same reason, I think there is a perfect balance between being a hot team and being the best team. I think there's a spots there. So let's take a look at Clemson. Clemson right now is both a very good team and a hot team. They are dangerous. They are on a 16-game winning streak. They are fresh off of an ACC tournament title. They won all of its last 7 series of the regular season, including 3 consecutive sweeps. It is a really remarkable turnaround from a Clemson team that started the season losing 5 of its first 7. Clemson and South Carolina are mirror images of each other if the mirror's cursed. Clemson started off ice cold, got white hot. South Carolina did the exact opposite. Now, Clemson does have a bit of an advantage coming into this. The Tigers have Charlotte as a potential second-day matchup. They've already seen Charlotte. The 49ers and the Tigers played a midweek game in February, and Clemson won that game 9-5. Now, granted, this was a hot minute ago. This was before anybody thought Clemson was going to be a national seed, certainly before anybody thought they would be a threat to host a regional, but here they are. Tennessee is the number 2 seed in the regional, and they are the threat here. However, the Volunteers on the road this year were 4-12. The majority of their 19 losses came on the road. Now, that's true of most college baseball teams, but the majority of their L's came on the road. 38-19, 12 of those L's came when they were on the bus. Now, Tennessee, opposite of Clemson, has underperformed for the most part. However, they have the number 4 ranked pitching staff in ERA with an ERA under 3.7. The guy that Clemson may face, this is interesting about the regionals as well. Most of the seeded teams, most of the top 2 seeds in every regional reverse their 1 and 2 guys in the order, right? They throw their number 2 guy in game 1. If you're Clemson, would you rather throw your number 1 or your number 2 at Lipscomb? I'd rather throw my number 2 and save my number 1 for day 2 if I draw Tennessee. So I would hang off on that. I would not, if I were the Tigers, look past Liscombe's, however. This is a conference winner. They won the ASUN tournament to claim an auto bid at 36-24. They are the number 14th ranked hitting team nationally with 106 dingers this year. This Lipscomb team won a series with Notre Dame. They have wins over Arkansas. They have wins over Louisville. However, and this is why I think Clemson can kind of keep a balanced eye. Lipscomb also went 2-5 against top 25 teams this season. They were shut out by the same Tennessee team that's in this regional back in mid-March. So I think there's a couple of questions here for the Clemson Tigers. I think the first is, how do you approach Lipscomb in day 1, knowing that a very, very good Tennessee team likely waits for you in game 2? My mentality has always been game 2 doesn't matter until you win game number 1. Now, do I prefer to save my number 1 pitcher for game 2 in case I get Tennessee? Yes. And in this case, honestly, I might. Lipscomb has got some dubs over some decent teams so far this year. Like I mentioned, they beat Notre Dame. They beat Arkansas. They took a series from the Irish. So I would throw my 2 at Lipscomb. I would go my 1. And I think I am relying on the bats. I think I'm relying on the bats in game 1 today. Texter said, I think y'all were talking about the game time for Clemson yesterday. I believe Clemson got to pick and chose the 1 p.m. time. I believe you are correct. And honestly, I don't have a problem with it, right? I wondered when this came down why. And the day that it got announced, I was like, why would they pick the 1 p.m. time? But I actually think the 1 p.m. time is the time to pick, right? For a couple of reasons. If you pick game 2, there's one major advantage. I know who my opponent is the next day, right? Whether I win or lose that game, I know who my opponent is the next day. So if I pick the second game and Tennessee wins game number 1, I know who I got. I got the big dogs tomorrow, and I can prepare for that. If I lose that game, I know who I got the next day. I can prepare for that. If you pick the opening game, you get a couple of benefits. Number 1, you get a little bit longer rest period, right? That game's going to be done by 3:30. The Tigers can rest and relax the entire rest of the afternoon, the entire morning. And if you win that game, you're not going to play again until Saturday night. So you effectively give yourself over an entire day of rest. Number 2, you have the same benefit as picking the second one in that you kind of get to scout. You get to go eyeballs on whatever opponent you're going to get in day 2. You've seen them play. Now, the bigger benefit for the 1 p.m. or excuse me, for the afternoon game time, or for the 1 p.m. game, sorry, the one Clemson picked. The benefit of going game 2 instead of game 1, pardon me, is that if you're game 2 and you know the result of game 1, right? Let's say there's an upset and Tennessee drops game 1. And you know the winner the next day is getting the Charlotte 49ers, a team you've already beat and beat comfortably. I might pull the last second switch and throw my 2 instead of my 1 and save my 1 for the next day. If Charlotte beats Tennessee, I might go ahead and throw my 1, guarantee that I get Lipscomb. Let my 2 go against Charlotte the next day. Try to get my number 1 some extra rest before game 3 on Sunday. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm intrigued to see how it plays out. Clemson and Lipscomb today at 1 o'clock. Charlotte and Tennessee, that one's going to be at 6 p.m. Game 3 is going to be tomorrow at noon. That's the loser bracket game. Game 4, the game of the 2 winners, will take place tomorrow at 6 p.m. at Doug Kingsmore Stadium. Game 5, which would be the winner of the losers bracket game and the winner of the winners bracket game, will be on Sunday at 6 p.m. If the winners bracket game wins that game, that's the end of the regional. They are moving on to the supers. If the losers bracket game wins that game, then the deciding game 7 will take place on Monday. We do not have a time for that one yet. Your ACC champs are going to win this bracket. I'm not as confident about the super regional yet. Obviously, we got to see who comes out of Auburn. But they're going to win this bracket. Lipscomb's a dangerous team. They're a conference champ. They're I want to say RPI-wise, they're like 16 in the RPI, which is the big metric that baseball teams are measured by. I am going to go, though, Clemson should win comfortably tonight. Through the ACC tournament, the bats were hot and the mistakes were very limited. So they'll beat Lipscomb. Then they got Tennessee. My only question is, does Clemson have to beat Tennessee twice? Or do they just need to beat them once and then go on to the winner's bracket game and hopefully catch them after a little bit of an easy breathe game and after Tennessee's got to wear themselves out playing an additional loser's bracket game? We'll see. But I like Clemson to win this regional. Let's take a break. When we come back in a minute, South Carolina, we'll break their regional down. We'll take a look at some of the teams they are lined up against and more. I am Rob Brown. He's the great one, Lonzo. You're listening to The Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
School about 20 years ago called the Silver Lake Conservatory of Music. The reason that I started doing this podcast was music education. I'll be speaking with Rick Rubin, Thundercat, Stuart Copeland, Margot Craig, Corey Henry, Cynthia Arrivo, Sheila E., and Patty Smith.
Please listen and follow This Little Light, a presentation of Cadence 13 on the Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Here at the Almond Joy Factory, where tropical vibes abound.
So orange. So
It's so. When I came in this morning,
it was like peach at first. I guess
I was like, oh, that's bad.
Yeah,
That's not bad. They are. Our walls up here in the studio now, y'all, are bright orange.
good shot. There's going to be graffiti on there. I'm just saying. I don't know who's going to do it. Though we might see some people in this building like on their knees in front of it doing this.
Finding great people to hire can be like trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Their powerful matching technology delivers so many qualified candidates. It's like finding a needle in a needle stack. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. For less hay and more needles, head to ZipRecruiter.
And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. At ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Discover credit cards automatically double all the cash back you earn at the end of your first year, which means, wait, hold up. Question for the audio engineer.
Go ahead.
Did I read that right? Discover automatically doubles all your cash back?
Yeah, that's what the script says.
So if I get a Discover card right
Man, this thing is acting up.
The computer?
Yeah, I mixed it down and then saved it, and it's not there. I mean, I guess maybe it could be me, but it's taking forever to do anything.
Streaming wherever you are on the Odyssey app. Make the Fan Upstate a favorite.
The Rob Brown Show rolls on. It is the Fan Upstate. Rob, Lonzo, and you. We took a look at the Clemson Regional, which starts today at 1 o'clock. Today, this evening, we get South Carolina, the number 15 national seed. They open their tournament against the Blue Devils of Central Connecticut State on ESPN. Of course, the winners move on. The losers go to the losers bracket. We've already told you that. The Gamecocks earned a host site this year, despite ending the regular season with 4 straight SEC losses. They got bumped from the SEC tournament by unranked Texas A&M. However, South Carolina did something impressive. They played top 50 opponents 35 times. They won 20 of those games. They were 20-15 against top 50 opponents. There's good news for South Carolina. The Gamecocks are 10-2 all time in regionals when hosting, and only one of the 2 losses came when the Gamecocks were the top seed. The Gamecocks are 26-7 at Founders Park this season. They dropped only 2 home series so far. The last time the Gamecocks hosted back in 2021. I was at that regional, as a matter of fact. Old Dominion was the top seed, but Old Dominion that year did not have facilities available to host the regional. So South Carolina got to host instead. The Gamecocks were eliminated in 2 games. It was wildly disappointing. The lone loss as a top seed came in 2014 when Chad Holbrook was in charge. Now, we mentioned that Clemson has an interesting draw out of the gate. Lipscomb is a very good offensive team. Team that lacks a little bit off the bump, which is why I think Clemson should win that game, go to the winner's bracket game today. Campbell, the Camels, the opponents of the Gamecocks today, I think are one of the toughest draws in the tournament. The Camels were a serious contender to land inside the top 16. And if you ask baseball dudes, a lot of baseball dudes believe that this regional should be at Campbell, not in South Carolina. Why is it in Columbia? That depends on who you ask. You ask a lot of people, it's because despite the Gamecocks' falters down the line, the beginning of the season was a great one for South Carolina. And the regionals should be determined based on your entire body of work, not a what have you done lately scenario. But Campbell is a team that ranks number 13 and RPI. They came out of the Big South tournament as the number 11 team in the USA Today Sports Coaches Poll. And while I don't put all the weight on the coaches poll, I do put a little bit. The coaches love these guys. By the way, in the coaches poll, The Campbell Camels are the number 11 team. The Gamecocks are number 18. Now, again, that's just one factor. But the Camels hold ranked victories against number 8 ECU, number 11 Coastal Carolina. They have Power 5 wins over North Carolina, over Duke, over Rutgers. This is a good, in fact, not only is this a good Camels team, I think Campbell is the team that threatens to win this regional over South Carolina. I'm not super worried about NC State. They're a good team, number 23 in the RPI. They've got ranked wins over ECU, Coastal Carolina, and number 9 Virginia, but they got swept by Wake Forest. They got swept by Clemson. They got swept by North Carolina. NC State's wildly inconsistent. Are they good enough to beat South Carolina and win this regional? Yes, they most certainly are. But Campbell is the out. So what is it that is going to make or break South Carolina? It's very simple. The same thing that has broken them all year, which is they are broken. They're a banged up team. The injury bug was a bleep this year for the Gamecocks. Braylon Wimmer has been out since April 28th with a hamstring injury. Cole Messina entered concussion protocol May 24th. Will McGillis re-aggravated a broken arm back on May 16th. Will Sanders and Noah Hall were both unavailable for the SEC tournament. I think South Carolina has a much better chance. This is not going out on a thin limb here, but South Carolina has a much better chance of winning the SEC tournament if those two pitchers are available. Now, there is some good news from Mark Kingston. Wimmer and Messina should both be available to play in the regional. Sanders should be available to pitch. The only problem is they don't want to overload Will Sanders. So he is probably coming out of the bullpen. That's great news because it allows you to use him in multiple spots throughout the series instead of getting one start out of the cat. Maybe two if you end up having to play an elimination game on Monday. But getting him back out of the pen, you might be able to use him in 2 games and do so in big spots if he's good to go. If the Gamecocks are fully healthy, and it looks like they are much closer to healthy now than they were even 2 weeks ago. If the Gamecocks are fully healthy, the Gamecocks are the best team in Columbia. I honestly am prepared to take the heat for being weak sauce and picking both home teams to win their regionals. But they're both hosting their regionals for a reason. South Carolina's regional comes down to today's game. If South Carolina gets by Campbell today, they win this regional. Because they might see Campbell again, but they'll have 2 tries to beat him once if that's the case. I'm not particularly concerned about NC State either. I think you're just fine working around the Wolfpack. Central Connecticut State should be fine. That should be an easy win. Get the win today. Put yourself in the winner's bracket. Get Campbell tomorrow. If you get them tomorrow, you're fine. If you lose today or tomorrow, you're in trouble. And that might be the most difficult part, is that you have no choice but to go 2-0 in the first 2. If you get the dub today against Central Connecticut, and you should, that if you lose to Central Connecticut today, then the folks who said South Carolina should not be hosting a regional will look justified. You got to get the win today over the Blue Devils. You do that, you got Campbell tomorrow, throw your ace at them tomorrow, get that win. If you fall to Campbell tomorrow, then you're going to be in a world of hurt. We'll keep an eye, and when we get back on Monday's show, we will have either regional results or we'll set you up for the losers for the elimination game that afternoon. Let's take a break. When we come back, got a few more things I want to run through on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
You've heard me talking about the payroll tax refund for months. I'm so proud that we've helped over 15,000 businesses claim over $5 billion in cash incentives. If you own a business, even if you've asked your CPA about this, you owe it to yourself to take another look. Every client is assigned a licensed and insured tax attorney who evaluates your company at my expense to accurately determine eligibility. Innovation Refunds has hundreds of 5-star reviews on Trustpilot and Google, and your business might be entitled to receive up to $26,000 per employee. Businesses of all types can qualify, including medical, professional, construction, even nonprofits. Please don't miss out on this. Even your doctor would tell you to get an expert second opinion, and we do a lot of work for doctors. Download the Innovation Refunds app now or go to getrefunds.com to potentially get a payroll tax refund of $26,000 per employee.
So I went home. I was going to pay that $30 to go ahead so I could play.
Yeah.
It was a one-shot deal where I didn't do it the day before, so I didn't get to
do it at all.
Yeah. Cameron did, though, because he did it when he saw it. So he got to play,
So
and
was
I
he
did
talking
not.
a bunch of smack to you?
No, I told him I didn't want to hear anything about it. He can talk. He can talk about it tomorrow, though.
Join us at Odyssey as we all do our one thing. Together millions of things for our planet. When you find toys for your pet, look for natural materials like cotton, rope, wood, or bamboo. When we each share our one thing, it becomes a million things for our planet. What's your one thing?
I always wanted to learn Spanish, but I never thought I'd have the time. Then I discovered Babbel.
Babbel's lessons are fun. They only take like 10 or 15 minutes, and in 3 weeks, presto, you're starting to speak another language. Like magic.
I love that Babbel's lessons aren't just robots talking. They're voiced by native speakers, so you get the pronunciation just right. And they're designed by real language teachers, so you learn how to have real-world conversations, things you'll actually use.
It's incredible. After using Babbel, I'm ready to start having real conversations in French.
There's all kinds of ways to learn. Use Babbel's podcasts or games or videos. You can even join live classes with a language teacher.
If you want to learn a language, there's no faster, easier, better way than
Babbel.
Babbel.
Babbel, évidemment. Go to Babbel.com to try for free. That's BABBEL.com. Babbel.com.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same, but is 95?
Trey, he's been on the show before, and long time ago, and we have a level of gamer that it requires you to be on that show, and I'm not sure he meets the level of gamer to be on the show. So you know. That's cool, Steven. Why haven't you beat the game yet? You've had it for like a week, right? Are you a completionist? Or are you just like roaming around trying to find all the secrets and everything? Nothing wrong with that. Actually, I think the game's been out 2 weeks, hasn't it?
Show, new time. Now 9 to noon, only on the Fan, Upstate. Now CBS Sports Radio.
On your radio at 97.7 FM, 1330 AM, Greenville, 97.1 FM, 950 AM, Spartanburg.
Listen on your phone, download the Odyssey app, and search the Fan Upstate.
There's a whole lot more to know about child
if you really want to go into the subject.
Your smart speaker. Just say play 97 The Fan Upstate on your HD radio.
That's true. I try not to look anything up on my first playthrough, and then if I'm playing through something a second time, I'm like, let me find some of the stuff that I didn't find before, and I would look. And sometimes just because you find it doesn't mean you can get it. You have to beat the thing that's holding it. Sometimes. We're talking about video games. Don't get any ideas, Kevin.
The third, the final, the best, the money hour of the Rob Brown Show goes now. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the Fan Upstate. I'm Rob Brown. The great man Lonzo is looking at me awkwardly for some reason.
Sometimes untangling the headphones is work.
It really was. That was a bit more of a struggle than I planned on it being. But we got through it.
Next time, look at it while you're just like trying to do the no look untangle, and sometimes you gotta put a little work in there.
I was struggling for a second. But we got through it. Champions rise to the occasion. Trey asks, was yesterday's loss at bowling a case of pride coming before the fall? No, and I'll tell you why. Listen, I went into that knowing, again, I had not bowled since the end of the Bad Bowlers Club, which was like a long time ago.
Me neither.
Right. The only one that I know has bowled since then is Diesel. He's the only one I know has bowled since then. I don't believe Mark Ryan had. I don't know when the last time Mark bowled was. That is part of the reason I am so ashamed at my performance yesterday.
I forgot to check my Mark Ryan calendar because I try to keep up with everything he does. You know, it's just sorry.
I don't know when the last time he bowled was, so I can't take a stab at it. All I can tell you is I walked into that room with incredible confidence, and I walked out of it hanging my pathetic head in shame, right? Because I don't care. I don't mind or care that both Mark and Diesel made a production out of beating me. They should. They deserve to because they did. Nobody has ever said, don't throw a Super Bowl victory parade in the hometown because we're worried about the feelings of the loser. It's not how it works. If you win, you hoist the trophy, you throw the parade, you bring everybody downtown, and you have a party. You take off your shirt, you Stone Cold Steve Austin a couple of beers, you hand the Lombardi off to fans in the audience for pictures, yada, yada, yada. I'm here for it. I have zero issue. Somebody yesterday close to me was like, aren't you mad they're like dunking on you on Twitter? No, they deserve to. They walked out with the trophy. You don't not host the trophy out of concerns of the feelings of the loser, especially when, and I acknowledge, the loser was talking crap the whole time leading up to it.
In the end, all praise goes to the victor, and that was Diesel. It was not Mark Ryan. It was not me. It was not Rob. It was Diesel, and Diesel deserves it. And we went into it knowing that there's a good shot that he was going to win. I had my shot at it. Rob had his shot at it. We didn't get it. And Diesel did. So good for him.
Yeah.
But we played 2 games and somebody else didn't.
Listen,
to say it.
I don't care. I don't care.
I do.
The response there is it took him 1 game to beat my 3 games best score.
You know what?
If I was him, that's all I'd say all day. I'd be like, I bowled in 1 game better than Rob had 3 chances to do.
This is
good on him.
This is going to sound weird coming from me. I saw how happy that made him yesterday, and I was okay with that. I mean, you need a win every once in a while. And so he got a win for a little while, and he was happy. He had that glow about him. I beat everybody. We all know that glow. Well, some of us do. Some losers never know what it's like to win. But then again, so maybe they don't experience the fact that they've never felt that, then it's better to love and whatever. Anyway, so he was happy. The dude was happy. I mean, he was going around. He was going into territory he'd never been when he waded into the nerd section of the bowling alley and was just sitting there, and he was so happy and he was so smiling. And I felt a little good for him. I did. Good for you. You need a win every once in a while. Maybe you're not used to it, and so it means more to you. So good for you.
Especially when it's been a minute since the last time you got one, right? Like a Super Bowl win for Buffalo Bills fans wouldn't just feel good because they got it done.
It would feel like history.
Correct. It would feel like you have been able to exorcise the demons of the consecutive Super Bowl loss streak, right? It would feel double good. As a Saints fan, winning the Lombardi back in 2009 wasn't just celebrating because the Saints won the Super Bowl. It was also celebrating the decades of mediocrity that we toiled through. It felt like all of a sudden it was worth it. Mark had been looking for payback from his destruction at Papa Shot at the Clemson Media Day since 2020. And he finally got it. He waited all that time and he finally got it.
So you call me Colonel Grudge. I mean, that's not necessarily a grudge. It's kind of like, I'm going to win someday and I'm patient and I finally got it.
Oh, you finally got it.
He finally got it.
Like
Good
I
for him.
said, when he walked over.
I do want to say that there was some Papa Shot like right there, and I didn't see him walking over and challenging you again to take his supposed title back.
When he, and as he should have, dunked on me in front of the boss, made sure to point out our final scores were photographed by the boss, was like, hey, what happened here? All I could do was give him the old fist bump and go, you got me, dog. Nice job. You got me, bro.
See, you're implying that you have to act differently in front of the boss. I would not have acted differently in front of the boss.
I'm not gonna run smack at the dude when he just kicked my ass, which he did. He did. I'm not gonna sit there and be like, I'm gonna get you next time. Like, no, you worked me. You get to gloat. You get to dance. I will see you next time we hit the lanes, dude. Like, next time. See, what I should have done is earlier this week, Tuesday, Wednesday, I should have left here, and instead of doing my job, whatever, I should have left here, went over to Spare Time, picked up some shoes, and thrown 10, 12, 14 games in that back room, paid the extra to go into the special guy room, and thrown on those lanes so that when I got there yesterday, I already know the lane. I already know the spin. I already know the whack. I know the whole thing, but I didn't do that. I leaned on my pride in my own abilities, and they let me down. Yes. For those of you that were texting me yesterday going, Mark has been dunking on you for 3 hours on this show, all I texted back was, it is what it is, man. He earned it. See,
in the end, again, he only bowled one game, and that's fine. Bragging on beating me, he beat a grandpa. I mean, I don't know. What's that get you? What's that get you? You beat some old guy out of sport. Is that? I mean,
I'll lay it out for you.
And I beat him the second game. So I mean, there's that. So not only did he beat a grandpa and then bragged about it, then he got beat by a grandpa.
You don't get to run boat at a guy and then when he beats you, go soft. Oh, I'm just an old grandpa. No, you were talking smack just like I was. And if you talk smack, you're going to eat it when you get run.
I beat him the second game.
Correct. But you came back and that's the difference.
Yeah.
I didn't. I stayed in that 140 range for 3 straight games. All 3 of my games were in the 140s.
See,
I could not touch it.
I only got to bowl 2 games. So I don't know how you got to a third game. But we had more people bowling on our lane. So that's probably part of it. And there's a lot of stopping and running around and eating and things like we were not consistently bowling. I could come up with a lot of excuses. It comes down to I had a chance to win, to beat Diesel in the second game, and I missed the pin, and it happens. I'm not going to be upset about it. Again, I'm glad he was really happy. You know what? I'm not hurt by being beat by Diesel because Diesel worked really hard to get better at his game, and we saw him do that week after week when we were doing the Bowlers Club. We saw him get better and better and better, and he absolutely did. And if I started a bowling team today, he would be the first person I would ask to be on the
100%.
team.
No problem with that.
Because not only is he's consistent, and there again, so are you. If you stay in the same range, then you get a handicap, and that helps as far as the overall team goes, rather than bowling 90 here and 200 here and stuff like that.
As a dude who once every 6 games throws a 220, to have back-to-back 140s, knowing the target score, right? I just needed to get a 157. That was it. Couldn't do it. And I talked so much crap yesterday that I will wear this L, and no, I am not going to say a word about him running and dunking on me on his show because he earned it.
There's a way to settle this because we are all bowling in separate places. The 4 of us need to go out, bowl 3 games on the same lane, the 4 of us, so we can talk stuff to each other and do all that kind of stuff and then find out who the real victor is. Because you're having different kinds of pressure on different lanes roll differently, all that kind of stuff. Put us all on even ground and then find out who wins.
All that's nice. All that's good. I got my ass.
No, all that's doable is what it is.
Sure. I'm not arguing. All that's good. All that's fine. I am not going to diminish what happened yesterday. I wear it. I will stare it in the face every day until we all Velcro our shoes back on again next time. That's just how it's going to go. All right. Let's get to some stuff as we run through this whole thing and wrap up the final hour of the week broadcasting. How about this one? I haven't really gotten a chance to jump into this one yet. NBA referee Eric Lewis has refereed 12 NBA finals throughout his career. This year, he is not on the list of officials to referee an NBA finals game. Why? Because he went straight up Kevin Durant. The NBA investigated a burner account which was connected to Eric Lewis. The account in question went by the name Blair Cutcliffe and the handle @CutcliffeBear. Fans started to notice the account's proclivity for defending Lewis and other NBA officials on Thursday, with one account compiling a video showing a sample of the tweet. The tweets that were thrown up by the Bear Cutcliffe Twitter handle included one, a guy who ranked all 71 NBA officials, was responded to by Blair that said, "So you watched every referee, every game, ? Another one said, "Why was everyone going crazy about Chris Paul being like 0-11 in games officiated with Scott Foster, but no one cares about LeBron having a whole 0-82 in games officiated by Eric Lewis?" The Cutcliffe account retweeted, "Just like they're not talking about Smurfs taking over London," end quote. Very random, but I like it. I like it.
Did Smurfs actually take over London?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so. It responded to another account that said Lakers being swept, but no Eric Lewis, with a funny gif about it. The Cutcliffe account responded, "Don't think he was ever the problem." Talked about one about him favoring Celtics fans, and the Cutcliffe one responded with the games he had worked at the Celtics before. It was very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. A particularly frequent enemy for the account was the Lakers. Lewis was the official involved in maybe the most entertaining technical foul of the season when then Lakers guard Patrick Beverley drew the ref's ire by grabbing a photographer's camera to show him evidence of a missed call. After this investigation dropped a couple of days ago, LeBron tweeted out, this Eric Lewis turd emoji true? ? raised eyebrow emoji. Patrick Beverley then chimed in. And one of the few things that Patrick Beverley's ever done that made me like Patrick Beverley, and said, they laughed at me when I grabbed the camera. Yeah, facepalm emoji. Anyway, there's really no meat to that story. I just find it freaking hilarious.
This is the equivalent of the NASCAR driver going in and saying, look, the turn was here. And is this, I mean, you can, it's not necessarily manipulate stats, but you can interpret stats in a way to make it look really bad. Were there other people on that crew that also have that same record against LeBron or whoever? Or is it the head of the crew is always get the blame? I'm not defending. I'm just curious.
I don't know. I mean, I'm assuming because it's not the same 3-man crews every game, right? Like refs are mixed and matched. So, you know, players are typically paying attention to records with an individual ref out there, because one ref can effectively overpower the other ones with calls.
I think we've all been screwed over by refs in some sporting event that we actually played in. I know I have. When you see that guy walk in, it's like, oh no, I'm losing. And what do you do about that though? Do you take them? Does the commissioner take them aside and say, hey, do you have bias against this player or this team? Can you explain why this is happening? I mean, what do you do other than point it out? Does that put pressure on him to next time lighten up, or is he going to batten down and do it worse?
I got nothing. The only thing I love here is grown men creating Twitter burners to defend themselves, to praise themselves. When KD did it, it was hilarious. When NBA refs do it, it is also hilarious.
I was going to say it's known as the KD method.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The KD way. Just absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And finally, real quick before we take a break, because when we come back, I want to talk Stanley Cup Game 1 breakdown. That series starts tomorrow. I love you tomorrow. We found out earlier this week that the interim head coach of the United States men's national soccer program, Anthony Hudson, is leaving that role. He will be taking on a new role. He is departing to take a head coaching role in the Middle East, according to ESPN. He will be replaced by current U.S. men's national team assistant B.J. Callahan. Callahan will coach the U.S. men through both the CONCACAF Nations League and the CONCACAF Gold Cup. USSF sporting director Matt Crocker said in a statement, BJ has been an integral part of the USMNT staff during the last 4 years as this young team has grown and developed. Working alongside Anthony Hudson these last 5 months, we are confident he is prepared and ready to lead this group in the summer tournaments. We are grateful to Anthony for the tremendous job he did and wish him success in the future. Now, I'm not super worried about the new interim coach. I'm not particularly worried. I think at the end of the day, because this U.S. men's national team is young, I mean, because it is developing chemistry, I am more concerned about the overall growth element of the side underneath an established training and development program. And I think that's one thing that the USSF has really done a good job of working on the last couple of years, is working on creating a spot where development has become every bit as important as game-by-game progression. Because, again, you've got a lot of young guys on this squad. You've got a lot of guys that are learning to play their own game, as well as a lot of guys that are learning to play alongside the other guys who are learning to play their own game. I think it is critical that development be the priority here. Yes, would I love to win the Nations League? Hell yeah. Would I love to win the Gold Cup again? Hell yeah. I would love to win any trophy that keeps it out of the hands of El Tri. Yes, it's one of my favorite rivalries in sports. But I'd rather be prepared for the next World Cup, a World Cup that's here, on our turf, on our soil. I would rather we have the World Cup side developed and ready. I will trade every summer tournament for the next 10 years for a great run in the World Cup that we are hosting. We'll see. U.S. Soccer Federation Sporting Director Matt Crocker also said that his goal is to have a permanent and full-time manager for the team in place by the end of the summer. Anthony Hudson was expected to run this team through the Nations League and Gold Cup. Obviously, as we just mentioned, he is not going to do that. He is taking a head coaching position in the Middle East. He is out. So now, not only do they have to worry about BJ Callahan and his development of the side, but they also need to work on finding a coach who can, and maybe more importantly, wants to develop a legacy for this team moving forward. There was another round of interviews that are scheduled in the middle of July. The timeline spelled out by Crocker has indicated that they will not have a coach in place by the new tournament. So Callahan is absolutely gonna navigate them through that. Greg Berhalter is not off the table. He is not out of the running. Now, there are some professional teams in other parts of the world that are right now looking at Greg Berhalter as potentially taking over as a manager, as a gaffer, as a head coach. And if Berhalter takes one of those jobs, he is likely out of the running to be the U.S. men's national team head coach. At least that is the popular thought right now. The fan base seems to be split in half. About half want him back, about half don't. According to U.S. Soccer, nothing has changed with the Berhalter side of things. So they are just running through the full open interviews. I imagine Berhalter will likely be listed as the favorite, but we'll find out. We'll find out. No hurry. Listen, I'm not worried about the Gold Cup. I'm not worried about the Nations League. Would I like to win them? Yes. But I will trade both of them to have an established, comfortable, confident coach who can work with a young roster, who can develop a young roster and have them ready in 2 years for the World Cup. Let's take a break. When we come back here in just a minute, Game 1 of the NHL Stanley Cup Finals is tomorrow. The Las Vegas Rangers taking on the Florida Panthers. Who do you like? I'll tell you who I like when we come back. I'm Rob. The great one is over on the other side of the metaphorical glass. You're listening, ladies and gentlemen, to the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
Let's stop talking about the weather and start talking about global domination.
No, there's no bodies hidden under my basement. Why do you ask?
We're making fun of the weather guy in case people are wondering. I just don't want to, randomly tune in and hear Rob say that and wonder what?
Good point. Good point. Didn't think about that.
Clemson at home and list them as a 9.5-point underdog, almost double digits. I personally feel like the models are all missing on the Gamecocks this year. I think the Gamecocks are much better than expected.
I don't know, Hayden. I think it's all going to depend on development. It's all going to depend on development. The talent, I think, is absolutely there, certainly to make the quarters. I think the talent, if developed, is there to make the semis. It's just, are they going to develop it? I think development has been the big problem for this program, man.
Why you let me down? I didn't have to bend over.
Could have just made it.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
Kobe. All right, so you're out all week next week, correct?
Yes, I am.
What are they doing Friday? Oh no, Cole's in.
Cole's in. Yes.
And I've got T2 with me.
Brandon. Yeah, bowling is fun, depending on who you're with. You're right.
Yesterday.
It would have been if you were hanging with me. I took bowling in college. It was awesome.
I did a bowling class in college.
Yeah, I mean, there are actually other ways to bowl.
Yeah.
And I mean, you know, probably the only class in college that I attended 100%.
You know what's really frustrating? What's really frustrating is that I look like a great bowler when I throw the ball. I've got the drawback. I've got the turnover. I've got the spin. I've got the leg sweep. I've got the slide. Everything that I do looks money. It looks money, except knockdown pins.
You do have the bowler look. I agree.
I look like a great bowler. I look like a great golfer. My golf swing is pure and it is juiced. And about 2 out of every 10 shots, I stripe the ball.
Whereas if you ever watch me bowl, if you snap a picture after I turn around after a strike, you will see a scary look in my eyes. Bob's like, Lonzo, why don't you put a little curve on it? And I'm like, no, Bob, because the pins don't explode if you put curve on it. It should be violent. He didn't bowl that bad, Kevin. Come on.
I think I beat the majority of people who come out and go bowling with.
Yeah.
But the majority of people I come out and go bowling against, I don't.
It's like being a good, decent quarterback, like let's say Josh, and being a great quarterback like Patrick Mahomes. I mean, it's that kind of level. Whereas Diesel is Patrick Mahomes.
Matt Jackson was required to get a Nevada Fire Performer's license for exploding super kick, which was awesome, by the way. It was awesome.
Yay, sparklers. I didn't see it. I'm sure it was awesome.
It was cool. You didn't? I thought you watched it. Worth the watch. Match is fun. I was saying before when we were on break, and this will be the last time I bring up bowling until the next time I bring up bowling.
Why? I mean, it's going to be brought up again tonight. So, I mean, by other people.
Again, that's fine.
Yeah.
He earned it.
Yeah.
He earned it.
Diesel did. You're right. Diesel earned it. He beat all of us.
They earned it. Last thing I'm going to bring up. You know the most frustrating thing about bowling is for me? Dude, I look like a bowler, right? I got the beer gut pudge going on. I got the good slightly out of control, but not too much hair. I got the dork glasses. I had on the bowling jersey. Yes, dude, I look like a bowler. My approach looks good. I got the draw back. I've got the great spin on the ball, the wonderful over-the-top release, the leg kick, the last 6-inch, 8-inch slide up to the lane that always stops. I look like if I showed you a video of everything from me using the little hand dryer, spinning the ball on the towel, the approach, the draw, the release, the follow through, the kick out, the slide. If I just showed you video of that, you'd be like, damn, that dude can bowl. That dude can go. I just can't hit the pins.
So you've described yourself as an actor.
Yes.
That's what you've described. Someone who's in a bowling movie.
You know how when you watch baseball movies, you can always tell the difference between the actors that like spent time learning to play that game for the role versus the ones who didn't. And they always try to sell you, they're like, here comes old Jack Johnson. It's his 14th year in the pros, and there's nobody with a fastball like him. And then they show the actor try to throw a ball, and he's like, nah. And you're like, no, dude, no. Come on, right? You come on. And you can tell the guys who did. Big Ted Lasso guy, yeah? If you watch Ted Lasso, you can tell, enjoy that donut, Chris, you can tell the difference between a guy like Denny Rojas, who was previously a professional soccer player turned actor, and the guys like Bumbercatch, who are actors who never played football. There's a reason they put Danny Rojas on the screen all the time and have him take the big shots, and Bumbercatch gets like one shot a game. I am Danny Rojas. I can put on a show that will make you believe that guy can do this. I'm the same with golf. I got a wonderful golf swing. I've got a great approach. The head stays consistent and down. The hips open. I throw the club out to right field. I got a great swing. If you, we went out golfing with Michael Pius, director of the First Tee of the Upstate, a couple of weeks ago. And even Mike told me at one point, he was like, I'm frustrated. And I was like, why? He's like, because your swing looks great. Your swing looks great. There's something in it that's wrong, but it looks good, and I can't tell you what it is. I hate that about myself.
It's mindset. That's got to be what it is. If you got all the tools, it's got to be something up there.
I don't know, man. I don't know. And I think it's because if I have a bad throw, I just want to retinker with everything about it. It's one of those things that, and I tell my golfing buddies this all the time. I'm like, if you want to learn to play golf, I said this to Diesel, and Diesel's gotten, just like bowling, dramatically better at golf. I said this to Diesel. Do not go out there and try to teach yourself, because you don't know what you're doing wrong, right? And you might think, oh, it's this, and if I turn my inside knee to point at the ball, you might think that's the right way to go, but then you realize that it's not so much the knee as you're not opening the hip. So you're pointing the knee, but the hips stay closed, and now you're just shanking the rock. Get somebody who knows what the hell they're doing and has the tech to break your swing down so you can correct the one thing instead of screwing with everything. My bowling approach and throw looks incredible. It looks great. It just sucks. All right, let's get some Stanley Cup breakdown in here. We have made it, ladies and gentlemen, all the way to the Stanley Cup Finals. And we got a bit, not a great, but a bit of a surprise here. The Florida Panthers were the last team to climb their way into the Stanley Cup playoffs. It took them all the way to the final day of the year. But since then, they have been spectacular. They did go 7 games against the Boston Bruins, but the Bruins were the best team in the history of the National Hockey League in the regular season. They then take on Toronto, the last surviving chance for Canada, to win a Stanley Cup. Beat them 4-1. Then they went up against the Hurricanes. The Hurricanes were maybe the most fun team in the National Hockey League playoffs, and Florida straight up slapped them in the face with the brooms on the sweep on the way out. How and why? Very simple answer. And the reason that the Florida Panthers are going to be a tough out for the Vegas Golden Knights. Sergei Bobrovsky. Sergei Bobrovsky is playing the best hockey of his career. And, oh, by the way, he's a 2-time Vezina Trophy winner. He has been the best goalkeeper in the league twice, and he's playing his best hockey this year. Bob Bobrovsky is not only playing the best hockey, but he's gotten better game by game, series by series. In the Eastern Conference Finals, a 4-0 record, a 96.6% save percentage, a 1.12 goals against average, and a first ever postseason shutout. In Game 4, Bob gave up 3 goals. It was the most he'd given up since Florida's first round series against Boston. He got better. And in that game, by the way, the focus for the Cats was on the attack. They were pulling extra defenders forward. They were going to try to win that game by outpacing Carolina, by hitting them with counters, by forcing retreats from Carolina. They were throwing numbers. They were throwing tactics forward. They were trusting Bob to defend the goal by himself or with one man back to help. They could have given up 6 or 7 in that one. I don't want to make excuses, But again, he also got a shutout in the game where Florida played a back foot game when they were playing not on the forecheck. And Bobrovsky had just a little bit of help. He was an ace. But he's not even the guy that I'm enjoying watching. The guy that I love is Matthew Tkachuk. He has been the guy with a capital T and a capital G in every big moment that the Panthers have come across this postseason. In the conference final alone, the 4 games of the sweep in the conference finals, Matthew Tkachuk had 3 game-winning goals, 2 of them in overtime, the last one in game 4 with less than 5 seconds remaining that completed the sweep. He is second overall in postseason scoring with 21 points through 16 games. Let me tell you why I love this Florida team. They play bully ball. They play the most physical hockey in the postseason. Now, some teams try to lean on physical hockey and it doesn't work out because here's the thing, you can punch all you want. But if you don't land big blows, you're just landing jabs, it doesn't matter. Being physical is one thing. You have got to be physical and efficient. There's a lot of teams that play physical, they forget to be efficient. So they're playing physical hockey, but they're putting nothing in the net. You're accomplishing nothing here. Nothing at all. Florida plays bully ball hockey, and then they have Matthew Tkachuk up front and Sergei Bobrovsky in the background. I like Florida. 8 seed. Team that scratched till the very last day of the regular season to get in, and they are right now playing the best hockey in this entire Stanley Cup playoffs. Now, let's take a look at the odds real quick. Tonight, the Cats are plus 1.5 in a hockey game. They are not just plus 1.5, but plus 1.5 on the spread at minus 250. You have got to bet minus 250 to get them at a 2-goal advantage at plus 1.5. They are plus 110 on the money line. Keep in mind, this game's in Vegas. They are a 1.5 at minus 250 if you want them on the, there's no point in taking them on the alternate line, right? Why would you buy that extra goal when you can get them on the money line at plus 110? And like I mentioned, keep in mind, on the road at Vegas. Vegas has been the best home ice advantage in the NHL. For the reasons that Major League Baseball is moving the Oakland Athletics to Vegas. The answer is a bunch of drunk hockey fans late at night on the strip. They're gonna be, as the kids say, lit with a capital L. It's the toughest home ice advantage to overcome in the Stanley Cup playoffs. That's why Vegas is favored in the series. But I like Florida. I like Florida because of Sergei Bobrovsky, because of Matthew Tkachuk. Oh, and by the way, because of one other thing. Vegas loves to play on the forecheck. Vegas loves to play with a one-man advantage. They love to earn a power play and take advantage. Do you know who has the best penalty kill in the playoffs? The Florida Panthers. They kill penalties at an 84% clip. That's wonderful. That is wonderful. They have allowed 4 goals on the past 25 shorthanded opportunities. The Panthers' power play has a 30.4% success rate. That means if you give them 3 power plays in a game, which is reasonable, they're going to score one. They're going to score one. The flip side is true for the Vegas Golden Knights. The lineup, top to bottom for Vegas, has played very, very well. But their penalty kill has been atrocious. Remember earlier, like 10 seconds ago, when I told you the Florida penalty killer unit operates at an 84% efficiency. 84% of the PKs they see ended them coming back to full strength without a problem. Vegas's penalty kill unit, 63%. That means for every 10 penalties they give up, 4 of those end in a goal for the away team, for the bad guys. That's not good. Vegas's penalty kill unit is 14th out of the 16 times. If Vegas wasn't so efficient offensively, they should have been bounced on that number alone already. That's bad. Here's the other line that's a problem. The Golden Knights have taken the second most penalty minutes during the playoffs. Now, granted, they've also had longer series than Florida has because they've gone deeper into them, including the Stars, who they let climb back into that thing and get a couple back instead of getting the sweep like Florida did. This is interesting. You've got a team in Florida whose special teams are wonderful, taking on a team in Vegas whose special teams are average to below average. But the top 3 lines for Vegas are a better and more quality top 3 lines. 5-on-5, Vegas has the advantage. But it is the not 5-on-5 times that I think lets Florida creep in and win this series. Florida has a better penalty kill than Vegas does. I believe they have a better power play than Las Vegas does. And they've got Matthew Tkachuk on it. I believe the Vegas Golden Knights are the favorites to win this series. Give me the upset. Give me the Cats. Florida plays bully ball. They throw you out of sync. Vegas works on being very in sync in their offense. Florida doesn't let you. Oh, and by the way, keep in mind, Carolina had about 5 extra days of rest from Florida. Now, just like with Denver, Miami, everybody asks what? Denver off 9 days. Does that hurt the Nuggets? And what did I tell you yesterday? Nope. It doesn't hurt them because their style of basketball is suited for that. It's not based on choreography. It's not based on timing and chemistry. It's based on smart tactical basketball. 9 days off helped Denver, and we saw it last night that it did. The Florida Panthers are the same way. Their game is not based on timing and efficiency. Now, it is hockey, so you got to have it. But that's not what they rely on. They rely on frustration. They rely on chaos. They rely on physicality. They're going to hit you. They're going to hit you hard. They're going to hit you often. They're going to hit you when you are trying to create momentum, and they're going to disrupt your timing over and over and over and over every time you have the puck. Vegas has not faced that yet. Dallas did not do that to them in the last series. It is all Florida has done in this postseason run. Lonzo, give me the Florida Panthers in 6.
Wait a minute. After all that, you're not predicting a sweep? You're predicting okay.
Vegas is too good. You're not sweeping Vegas. Vegas is too good. They are going, and they're going to win a game like 2-1. They're going to win a close one. Bob is good. He's not God. It's not Sergei Godbrovsky. It's Sergei Bobrovsky. He's going to let 1 or 2 slip because Vegas has one of the better pure 5-on-5 offenses in this postseason. Florida has a good but not great offense, except on the power play. So there's going to be a game where Vegas is going to play real disciplined hockey, not give up any power plays. Florida's going to have a tough time, and Vegas is going to win. I think probably twice. But I'm going to go 4-2. Carolina puts this thing away in 6, back on their home ice. Ladies and gentlemen, let's take a break. We come back. We will wrap up this week in broadcasting next. I'm Rob. He's the great one. You're listening to The Rob Brown Show. You're listening to The Fan Upstate. Correct. That's why I love him. It's they play old school, big man oriented team basketball, and it's the best. No, I will not put money on the Stanley Cup. I'm confident in Florida, but the I haven't seen a number yet that was like, okay, there's a profit to be made here. I don't love it. Nikola. How have I not done that yet?
Why did that just turn red? That was weird.
I did actually, Steven, I did not because it took me. So I had my dog with me. And the dog was getting very antsy at that point. And I did not get down to that area until like 9:30 or so. So I wasn't going to stop. I will look and see if I can find the name of that gas station, but it's like a little, if you're on the right road, which is off of exit 69, nice. It's just a little old gas station. I don't really know how to describe it. Like, close your eyes and think of old, decrepit country gas station, and then look for that.
I live in Lawrence County. I see them all the time.
Yeah. You should stop and get some boiled peanuts.
No. That's what it takes to fully acclimate myself to the area. I will always be a ferner.
And a ferner?
Ferner.
One of them damn dirty ferners.
Go, Yankee.
Burrow peanuts are not poisonous. If they were, I would have been dead a long time ago. We used to call them goobers when I was growing up.
Okay. There's only one goober. You lived in Mayberry.
Oh, man. Goobers are top tier snacks, my man. I did stop at Buc-ee's too. I did stop. There's a Buc-ee's in Opelika, Alabama now, right next to the campus at Auburn University, which, by the way, phenomenal recruiting tool for Auburn. We got a Buc-ee's right next door.
I think there's one of those on the way to the beach. And we thought about stopping. I'm like, what is this? Everyone's talking about this. I've never been in here. So if that is true, if it's where I recall it is, I might have to stop and check it out. And see if the hype is real.
It is.
Well, the hype might be real, but it doesn't mean the place is
worth
the hype.
They got decent barbecue.
Yeah, I don't care for
all
barbecue.
their sandwiches are good.
Barbecue like football or like hot dogs and boiled peanuts is for poor people.
Barbecue? What?
It's for
Did
poor,
you just
it's for
say?
poor people. Unless it's beef. Beef is the only real barbecue.
Never wanted to fight you so much in my life.
That's not true.
Never in my life. Say on the radio
That's not
what you
true.
just said.
Barbecue, like hot dogs and boiled peanuts, are for poor people.
First off, barbecue, but there's not boiled peanuts. They're not barbecue. They're boiled peanuts.
Okay, and the other thing is, no, there were two separate things. There was a comma in there. I'm sorry.
Right, but you said so you're saying things like barbecue and boiled peanuts are for poor people.
And hot dogs, yes.
And hot dogs.
Unless the barbecue is beef. Stop with this brisket stuff. It's beef. It's cow. Okay, that's barbecue. Anything else is for poor people. Let's get to Twitter trending topics, and the first thing that's trending is circumcision.
What are you doing today, Lonzo?
It's trending.
What are you doing today?
It is trending.
What has happened to you?
I've been on vacation like 2 hours ago.
That's fair.
You were listen. I'm not gonna crack open the mic to talk about something that I don't have knowledge about, just to let you know I'm here. When there's an expert in the room who's doing a wonderful job.
First off, you just have a garbage take on food right there. Garbage take.
All right. I disagree.
Hot dogs are phenomenal. There are entire restaurants dedicated just to the dogs, worth every cent.
Poor people need to eat too.
Unbelievable.
All right, circumcision is.
I don't.
You're supposed to know. That's how this game works. You're supposed to tell us what you know about circumcision.
I mean, I know what it is. I know how it works. I have my stances on it, I guess. I don't know. No. What I'm supposed to tell you is why it's trending.
Do you not know Moyle?
No freaking clue. None. Why is it trending, Lonzo? Why is circumcision
I'm not clicking on that.
No, that's your job.
You're supposed to know. I'm not clicking on that.
If you pick it, you have to be there for if I don't know what it is.
All right, the next thing is trending is National Donut Day. And thank you to Steven. Yes.
You legend. Steven Grubhub us a dozen donuts from Duck Donuts, which is over on Pelham.
Messed up the entire day too. Yeah, it's messed it up.
Really did. Your boy was having a real good week.
Which is what Steven was doing.
Steven sent us over a dozen donuts from Duck Donuts, which, by the way, I'm going to go ahead and tell you now, not an endorsement. I love them. Go.
It was pretty good.
They're over on Pelham. And they're right next to Double Dog, which is a delightful hot dog restaurant. I'm going to go get a hot dog. I'm going to go get a donut. My day's going to be good.
Is it? Because then you're going to get home and you're going to think, man, I was really doing good with my weight loss. And then this happened.
Yes.
It must be good because Chris snuck in and got a second one a little bit earlier. Wait, if you were watching the stream, he opened the door slowly. He made sure that I made eye contact so as Rob would not get startled. And then he ran across the room and got that.
That's what it was. And I appreciate it. Because I saw you looking and then I'm like, somebody's behind me.
I made sure you saw me looking.
See, that's the type of courtesy I don't expect from people with such terrible food tastes.
Well, but the thing is, because I don't abandon my friends. So, I mean, there's that.
It's Lisa!
There absolutely is that. All right. The last thing that's trending is Bryce Young.
BY is trending because BY has looked great in the film that's coming out of the OTAs, except for every time Bryce Young stands next to anyone or anything in the facility, the jokes roll. My favorite one yesterday was they put out a photo of Bryce Young behind a podium at a presser after OTAs, and he looks like a normal person behind a podium. I mean, it's a little tall for him, but relatively normal. And then people started photoshopping slightly smaller Bryce Youngs behind the podium until it was just the top of his head sticking over the top. It was freaking hilarious.
So you're saying that, and all I can think of is, shall I get you a box?
Ladies and gentlemen, that's it for the day. That's it for the week. Clemson baseball starts up here in an hour and 6 minutes. South Carolina in 6 hours, 6 minutes. Make sure you tuned in because we will break down the regionals and the NHL Stanley Cup Finals and NASCAR, and the NBA Finals, and everything else when we return Monday. Don't drink and drive. I'll punch you in the face. Lonzo's on vacation next week. He'll be back in whenever. Have a great one, everybody. You've been listening to The Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. Later, brother.
Yeah, there'll be a stream next week. Rob's here. If Rob's here,
we'll
there'll be a
stream.
stream. Yeah.
We'll still stream.
Yeah, Kevin, protect your job. You know, we're not worth it.
All right, dudes, ladies, gentlemen, boys, girls, thank you all for hanging out. You're all spectacular people. We appreciate you greatly. I hope you have a lovely rest of your weekend. Lonzo, have a stupid great vacation on the beach. Eat some boiled peanuts. You'll feel better. See you on Monday. Have a good one. Bye.